You're tuning into the Han Lee's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1638 1638 Chapter 372, Immortal Trace and Devil's Shadow 1. In a room in the ancient city, the aura of death actually appeared. At this moment, Suyu wondered if the closer he got to the room in the inner ring, the more aura of death there was. This was a crisis, so what was the opportunity? Also, what exactly was the power of this aura of death, and what was that undead thing? Heaven-destroying city was becoming more and more mysterious. What exactly was this place used for back then? Suyu didn't know anything about all of this. Of course, there were many mysterious places in the heavenly battlefield, and there were many more that he didn't know about. Danger and mysteriousness often represented good fortune. Maudwa insisted on running over here, and he wasn't even interested in killing people. Suyu felt that there must be a great fortune. He really wanted to chat with Maudwa, but the prerequisite was that that fellow wouldn't attack him. Outside, the sounds of horse hooves from the night patrol could still be faintly heard. These fellows were so mysterious that he didn't know what was wrong with them, or what danger they were in. And that undead. All of these things echoed in his mind. After hesitating for a moment, Suyu took out the ranking board. The ranking board was still the same. Suyu thought for a moment and entered a line of words on the ranking board. I want to know the secret of the ancient city. A moment later, a line of words appeared in the blank space of the list. All the ancient cities, or the ancient city of heaven destruction. The ancient city of heaven destruction. Suyu only wanted to know what was on this side. Since he didn't go anywhere else, there was definitely a price to pay on this side. As expected, very soon, another line of words appeared. The secret of the ancient city of heaven destruction requires 10 years of lifespan to be exchanged. Lifespan? Suyu understood that the so-called lifespan was actually life force, which was to deprive one of the life force in one's body. This thing, how should he put it? Perhaps it could be made up with the immortal race's birth control method. However, what to exchange for lifespan was usually not very reliable. Suyu rejected, changed the condition. 10 years of lifespan, kill one genius on the heaven roll, provide 1 drop of eternal blood essence, 1 eternal divine text, you can choose any one of them. F*CKU. Suyu wanted to curse, black-hearted. Are you crazy? The human race did not have eternal divine text, but the strongest one was at the sun-moon realm. Eternal divine text represented the unrivaled civilized master who had killed the other powerful races of the 10,000 races. T. In total, 10 years of lifespan killing a genius on the heaven roll was the easiest. Was it that expensive? Is there anything else? It's too unreliable. The ancient city's secrets are worth this price. Suyu's heart skipped a beat. I'm talking about the ancient city. The other party might have given him a lot of things. Thinking of this, Suyu said again, I don't want to know everything about the ancient city. I want to know how to obtain the opportunity to destroy the ancient city. What price will I have to pay? As expected, the conditions changed. 3 years of lifespan, 10 drops of sun and moon blood essence, killing 1 genius on the earth roll, 1 earth soldier. Suyu had some doubts and was tempted. If I want to trade, how do I do it? If you're willing to trade, prepare the items and the transaction will be successful very soon. Suyu hesitated for a moment before writing again, there are no earth soldiers. There are 3 martial soldiers at the peak of the mystic rank. Can I trade them? The other party seemed to be weighing the price. Very quickly, he replied, above 70 golden patterns, 3. Below 70, 5. No problem. This Suyu could agree. Although it was very expensive and the price was a little high, it was the first time they were trading. He wanted to test the other party first. It was not a big deal to spend some money. This heaven-hunting pavilion was as mysterious as the ancient city. A transaction, how was it going to be done? Su Yu was still thinking when the door outside was suddenly knocked. Su Yu was shocked. In the next moment, a faint voice came from outside. Mr. Su, the transaction can begin. F***CK. Su Yu cursed in his heart. It came just like that. The heaven-hunting pavilion actually had subordinates in the ancient city. Su Yu was extremely vigilant. After thinking for a moment, he opened the door and looked outside. A black shadow was standing outside. Seeing that Su Yu's door was opening a little bit, the black shadow did not mind. A jade talisman appeared in his hand. Mr. Su, we can trade now. Su Yu frowned and said, from the heaven-hunting pavilion? Yes. Even if you were to locate it, you wouldn't be able to locate it so accurately, right? I heard Mr. Su shouting earlier. The black shadow's answer was simple. It was not that accurate, but wasn't his voice very loud? Did the night patrol not cause you any trouble? Just avoid them. Patrol once every half an hour. The black shadow said indifferently, Mr. Su, it's better not to probe. This information is free for Mr. Su. Su Yu was speechless. After hesitating for a moment, he still took out a few weapons. They were all weapons that he had forged in his spare time that he did not need. Of course, there was still one more. It did not matter. He had killed many people before and also obtained some rewards. At this moment, he also took out one and handed it to the black shadow. He then said, is the information accurate? Heaven Hunting Pavilion has the highest reputation. It was that simple. Believe it or not. Su Yu still chose to believe it. He handed over the weapon and took the jade talisman. Close the door. After waiting for a moment, he didn't look at the jade talisman. Instead, he was judging something. At this moment, suddenly, the faint positioning disappeared. At this moment, a line of words appeared on the ranking board beside Su Yu. Su Yu, don't play these small tricks like weapon location next time. As a large organization, Su Yu's tricks could only be considered small tricks. Su Yu was only testing it out, but he was secretly shocked. The location disappeared. What did this mean? It disappeared very quickly. This meant that the other party had quickly discovered the location and then removed it. If the other party could remove his location successfully, then the other party could be an Earth Armament Division. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1639. 1639 Chapter 372, Immortal Trace and Devil's Shadow 2. Otherwise, even an expert would find it difficult to erase his device. Earth Army Division, is in the ancient city? Or is it outside the ancient city? Heaven Hunting Pavilion, ancient city. It was getting more and more mysterious. There were many things that humans and other races didn't know about the heavenly battlefield. Some of the invincible ones might know about it, but they kept it a secret. Su Yu did not think about the Heaven Hunting Pavilion anymore. Soon, he picked up the jade talisman and took a look. How did one obtain an opportunity in the ancient city? After looking at the jade talisman for a while, Su Yu had a strange look in his eyes. The Heaven Hunting Pavilion gave 3 answers. The first one was the City Lord's Mansion. There was a huge opportunity in the City Lord's Mansion, but, the prerequisite was that one was not afraid of death. As for where the opportunity was in the City Lord's Mansion, one had to find it themselves. The second one was the ancient house. It was the kind of ancient house that Su Yu was currently staying in. There were many opportunities in this house. There were many types of opportunities, such as the remains of some people who died in the house. Some of the ancient houses would have some corpses, the local residents and guards could not enter. If you went in, you might be able to reap a great harvest. The closer the ring number was, the greater the possibility of reaping benefits. Some of the unopened houses might contain many good things. Many races stationed in the ancient city actually wanted to open these houses. They might even be able to obtain some ancient relics. This was a fortuitous encounter. Another point was that the better the house, the more likely it was that some mysterious things would appear inside. For example, some good large courtyards. If you went in, if you were lucky, you might be able to obtain some strange things or secret realms. Some houses had mystic realms in them. In fact, they were formed by divine culture. Someone had entered a mystic realm in an ancient city and obtained a sun-moon mystic yellow pond. It contained a large amount of sun-moon mystic yellow liquid. Someone had entered a mystic realm in a house and obtained a heaven yuan fruit tree. After countless years, it had borne countless fruits. The heaven yuan qi was frighteningly rich. There were also people who had accidentally obtained a heavenly weapon. Su Yu was dazzled by what he saw. So that was how it was. Only in good houses could one obtain large amounts of benefits. Of course, the probability of it appearing was very low. Moreover, there were many houses that one could not enter at all. If one entered, there would also be great danger. Many people who entered would instantly die. Su Yu suspected that this was due to the influence of the aura of death. The stronger the room, the denser the aura of death. These were the opportunities that the ancient room might bring to one. Hence, Maudwa had a high probability of entering the ancient city for this. The city lord's mansion and the ancient room were two types of opportunities. In the ancient city, there was another type of opportunity, which was the last type provided by the heaven hunting pavilion. The third type was the ancient city token. This was a type of token in the ancient city. It wasn't considered an opportunity in itself, but it was related to a very mysterious place in the heavenly battlefield, the Starry Palace. There might be some connection between the ancient city and the Starry Palace. At present, there were no clear records saying that the ancient city was related to the Starry Palace. However, there were ancient city tokens in the ancient city. Ancient city tokens of different levels might open up some secret realms in the Starry Palace. The Starry Palace was huge and very mysterious. After countless years of exploration, they hadn't found anything. With the ancient city token, they had a chance to obtain some great fortuitous encounters, but the prerequisite was that the ancient city token's level had to be high enough. And the ancient city token was in the hands of the dead souls. Su Yu's teeth hurt. F***ck. What the heaven hunting pavilion meant was that those dead souls might have been originally from the ancient city. Only by obtaining the ancient city token from the dead souls could they hope to obtain it. Of course, some experts in the heaven-destroying city might also have such things. They might have obtained it from the dead souls, or they might have discovered it by accident. However, under normal circumstances, the tokens were in the hands of the dead souls. The stronger the dead souls were, the higher the level of the tokens they carried. From the looks of it, there were many different levels of tokens. Sky Soaring Realm, Lingyun Realm, Mountain Sea Realm. Of course, the realm of the dead souls wasn't clear, so they all looked the same. There was also a simple description of the aura of death, and it was very troublesome. It was best to have a way to deal with it, either through a powerful cultivation technique or a special method, or by directly killing the undead. Otherwise, if one was infected by it, it would be very difficult to get rid of it. Furthermore, if one were to enter the ancient city in the future, they would be hunted down by the undead in the ancient city. In the eyes of the undead, one was an intruder. If one's luck was bad, one would think that the other party was a soaring undead, while the other party might be a sun-moon undead. That was why the heaven hunting pavilion had advised them not to try such an opportunity unless they were extremely powerful. Over the years, in order to obtain some benefits, some elite experts from various clans had tried. The results were very miserable. The reason why the Black Armored clan had experts stationed nearby was actually for the benefits of these ancient cities. Finally, there was a point in the information. If you entered from the main city gate and stayed for a long time, the reason why there were great benefits was because of some powerful houses. If you entered, you might not be able to discover anything for 3 days. Perhaps on the 4th day. On the 5th day, a mystic realm would suddenly appear in the house. Therefore, the longer you stayed, the greater the possibility of obtaining benefits. After reading the information, Suyu let out a breath. 5 mystic weapons were exchanged for this. It was tens of thousands of merit points. It was not worth it. At least he knew some things. It was worth it. This was comparable to the price of an Earth soldier. He was still unwilling to exchange for these things. Suyu thought for a moment and suddenly wrote on the sub-leaderboard again, there is too little valuable information. It is not enough. The heaven hunting pavilion is too deceitful. They are not planning to make a long-term deal. What do you want? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1640. 1640 Chapter 372, Immortal Trace and Devil's Shadow 3. Send me a few free messages. We might be able to continue working together in the future. What do you want to know? Can we kill people here? Can we kill these residents or guards? Will the city lord make a move? Which side is the city lord of heaven destroying city? What punishment is there for destroying houses? What are the advantages and disadvantages of being a resident? Suyu asked a few questions in a row. At this moment, a sentence appeared on the ranking board. There is a lot of information, but it is not very valuable. I can give it to you, but you need to provide us with a drop of your blood. Scram, we don't want to trade anymore. The ranking board was silent for a moment. The next moment, another sentence appeared, then provide us with a drop of talent essence blood. Any race can do it. Scram. Suyu cursed again. He wouldn't do it. Not only would he not do it, but he was also sneaking out of the house. He wanted to change his house so that no one would know that he was in this house. There were many empty houses. However, Suyu didn't pay much attention to it before. Now, he had a feeling that different houses would have some resistance when they entered. Some houses that looked like human houses would have less resistance after entering. Suyu found a house that looked like a human house. After entering for a while, his biggest feeling was that the aura of death had lessened. This was probably the reason why the gatekeeper, Shanhai, had told him why he wanted to find a human house. Less aura of death. On the other hand, he continued to argue with the heaven hunting pavilion. Not only that, Suyu quickly changed his appearance. In the blink of an eye, he turned into a fierce tiger. He wanted to try again to see if the other party could find him and pinpoint his location. Otherwise, he would not be at ease with this ranking. Soon, the heaven hunting pavilion replied that they could provide him with this information. However, they needed Suyu to provide them with information about Shan Xiong. Yes, Shan Xiong. This included Shan Xiong's methods, the characteristics of the divine inscriptions, and his characteristics. Suyu agreed without hesitation. He casually wrote it down. This was simple. As for whether it was true or not, how would I know? Everyone knew what I knew. In fact, even I did not know. If you ask me, who would I ask? Suyu couldn't be bothered to guess why the heaven hunting pavilion wanted to know about Shan Xiong. It was nothing more than what he had said last time, which had piqued their interest in Shan Xiong. There were many people who were interested in the unity of multiple divine inscriptions, and there were many heaven hunting pavilion members as well. This time, Suyu obtained the information once again. However, it took a lot longer. He didn't know if the other party did it on purpose or if it was really difficult to locate him. After about an hour, there was another knock on the door. The door opened. Outside the door, it was still the same black shadow from before. Suyu actually did not know if it was the same person or not. Their strength was similar and their aura was somewhat difficult to distinguish. However, their looks were more or less the same. They were referring to their attire. Suyu was too lazy to say anything. He quickly threw the information he had written about Shan Xiong to the other party. The other party seemed to have checked it for a moment. Very quickly, the Black Shadow said coldly, "Mr. Su, this information seems to be outdated. Regarding the information about Shan Xiong's divine text. Did you write something wrong?" "What?" Suyu asked curiously, "What's wrong?" "You said that his divine text might not be a divine text, but a special weapon. This. Believe it or not, if you don't believe it, then forget it." Suyu said unhappily, "This is my deduction. If you don't believe it, then forget it. I suspect that Shan Xiong is actually a cyborg civilization master." Although he felt that Suyu was talking nonsense, this Black Shadow had no choice but to leave. Once he left, Suyu quickly continued to change rooms. Run. Sure enough, the sub-ranking could locate him, but it might not be so easy to locate him. The other party either did it on purpose or it was really difficult to find him in an instant. He could only confirm a rough range. "I can try again next time." Hide the ranking board in different places. He could hide it in his Sea of Will or wrap it in divine runes. In any case, he could just slowly try it out. After getting some more information, Suyu quickly looked through it. He had a general answer to all the questions he asked. In an ancient city, one could kill people. However, killing people, including bleeding, might draw out the undead. One could consider whether or not to kill people here. Residents and guards could also be killed. For the same reason, since they were local residents, killing them might draw out powerful undead. If one became a resident of the ancient city, they would be bound to the ancient city. There were benefits, such as being able to survive in the ancient city for a long time. In addition, they would enter a state of non-interference with the undead. If they did not take the initiative to provoke them, the undead would not attack the local residents. Not only that, under certain circumstances, if the local residents had the ancient city token and were of a higher level, they could even command some weak undead. Previously, the night patrol said that they could break open houses. In fact, even if they had an ancient city token with a higher level, they could also forcefully open houses. The prerequisite was that the level was high enough. According to the Heaven Hunting Pavilion, an ancient city token might have a level of 36, which represented 36 rings. The lowest level of an ancient city token might only be able to open houses in the lowest level areas. If one was worried that the ancient city dwellers would charge into the houses, it would be best to go to a high-level ring house. It would be impossible for the other party to enter. As for the destruction of the houses, it was the same result. Even if the houses were destroyed, they would recover very quickly. More importantly, if the houses were destroyed, it would attract the attention of the undead. In short, the most terrifying people in this ancient city were not the living, but the dead. Those undead might have been the dead in the ancient city back in the day. They had been preserved by the city and were filled with the aura of death. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1641. 1641 Chapter 372 Immortal Trace Devil Shadow 4. As for the City Lord of Heaven Destruction City, there were only a few sentences of introduction. Don't provoke, don't be afraid. Humans, gods, demons, immortals, any race with more than 5 undefeatable, this one doesn't dare to provoke. If you don't take the initiative to provoke him, he won't take the initiative to provoke you. It was that simple. To be able to occupy an ancient city and become an overlord here, he had the ability to judge the situation. The reason why he was afraid of more than 5 unrivaled experts was because an ancient city had been attacked before. The 3 unrivaled experts had attacked the ancient city, but in the end, they didn't receive any benefits. Instead, one of the unrivaled experts had died. It had happened hundreds of years ago. Therefore, if some small clans didn't have unrivaled experts or only had unrivaled experts, the other party wouldn't be too afraid. The ancient city had a complete defense system, and as the puppet master of the ancient city. Yes, puppet master. This was not what Suyu had said. The Heaven Hunting Pavilion had written that the puppet master had the ability to mobilize some of the ancient city's power. In short, it was to tell Suyu that the two had nothing to do with each other. Just don't provoke the other party for no reason. The human race was not a pushover either. Although their situation had not been very good in recent years, when Xia Longwu had attacked the heaven-destroying city, nothing had happened. And for the sake of peace, the other party would not have any conflicts with the geniuses of the various powerful clans. I see. After reading these documents, Suyu had a general impression of the ancient city. It had to be said that the Heaven Hunting Pavilion's intelligence system was very complete. They knew a little about everything. Of course, these were probably not the entirety of the ancient city. For example, how the undead were formed, and what had it to do with the Starry Manor. There was no explanation for all of these. City Lord's Palace. Forget it. A 9th-level Sun-Moon Realm cultivator is guarding it. If I go, I'll just be courting death. Killing the undead, forget it. If I meet the Sun-Moon undead, I'll really be courting death. The fellow I met before might only be Ling Yun or the Mountain and Sea Realm. He's already so difficult to deal with. Then the only way is to enter the inner ring and find a room that no one has entered before. I'll gamble on my luck. The longer I stay, the greater the probability of a fortuitous encounter. The prerequisite is that I won't be killed by the aura of death. At this moment, Suyu had roughly sorted out the method to obtain benefits in the ancient city. Sun Moon Profound Yellow Pond. Suyu had heard of this amazing thing that could strengthen the strength of the Sun Moon Realm acupoints. It was almost impossible to buy, and it was extremely difficult to obtain. At the level of Sun Moon, it was a good thing that could allow him to raise his strength. Unless the other party was at the 9th level of Sun Moon Realm, he wouldn't sell it to him. Or, it would be good to get a Heaven Origin fruit tree back. He could plant it himself and have a source of Heaven Origin fruit. If it was not possible, he could also get a Heavenly Soldier and bring it back. If it was not possible, he could get a few Sun Moon Divine runes. If he did not use them, he could break his cultivation. Suyu was tempted. Mo Dona had reached the 18th ring last time, and that guy might have gone deeper this time. With his current strength, would it be possible for him to reach the 20th ring? This time, Madonna might have gone to the area around the 15th ring. I can try one ring at a time. The main thing is the density of the aura of death. There might be some other dangers. I'll know after I try the houses one by one. I'll go from weak to strong. Then, I'll make a decision on which house to wait in. Dead souls. Suyu thought of the problem of dead souls again. The Heaven Hunting Pavilion explained a little. They rarely appeared during the day and more at night. It was rare during the day, but it did not mean that they did not appear. For example, they destroyed houses or killed people. At night, the probability of encountering them was very high. Some of these dead souls would come out at night to collect those jade talismans. Just as Suyu was about to head deeper into the city. At the city lord's residence. The back hall was where the stone sculptures were located. The current city lord lived in the front hall. The back hall was a little strange. Even the city lord wasn't willing to go there much. The sun and moon had once died there, and there were also a few powerful dead souls that would move there at night. Even he didn't want to fight with these dead souls. At this moment, the front hall was brightly lit. In the huge ancient city, only this place had some light. The other places were all dark. Even if there were lights in the house, it would be difficult to see the light from the outside world. In the front hall. There was someone there. The city lord of Heaven Destruction Ancient City was sitting on the main seat. He was drinking wine and watching the beauties of various races dancing. His eyes were clear, and he wasn't intoxicated. He just remained silent. On both sides, at the moment, there are a few people, sage-like bone. He's young, he's male, he's female. In addition to these, there are a few armored experts. If Suyu met, will soon be able to recognize, this is the Black Armor Clan guy. On the left, the handsome and sunny young man raised his cup and said with a smile, a toast to the Lord of Heaven-Destroying City. The Lord rules the western part of the ocean plain. The ancient city will never be destroyed. The Lord will never be destroyed for thousands of generations. The eyes of the man in the center were black as he looked at him with a profound expression. There's no need to be so polite with the descendants of immortal kings. There's no need to be so generous. They're just wanderers. If their realms hadn't been destroyed, they wouldn't have come to this ancient city and become a puppet that can neither live nor die. You must be joking, my lord. Dao Qing smiled and said, my lord, in this ancient city, you can even fight an eternal immortal king. Ha! It was unknown whether it was a disdainful or self-deprecating laugh, but the city lord was also very young. At the very least, he looked young. The most special thing about him was that his eyes were completely black as he looked at Dao Cheng. He said indifferently, it's only a small plot of land in the ancient city. Outside of the ancient city, even an ordinary 9th-level sun-moon cultivator can kill me. In the past, I was heavily injured by Xia Longwu's saber. What's there to be proud of? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1642 1642 Chapter 372, The Immortal's Trace and Devil's Shadow 5. Dao Cheng was silent for a while, but soon he smiled and said, those who do evil will die. Xia Longwu has killed too many people, and it's hard for him to achieve the Dao now. I think. It's hard. The city lord of the ancient city ignored him. He drank a glass of wine and said indifferently, the immortal clan has brought the Black Armor clan here this time. What do you need my help for? Seeing that he didn't answer, Dao Qing didn't say anything more. He smiled and said, sir, we want to capture someone in the city. Suyu. Yes. The city lord of the ancient city looked at him and said indifferently, go and capture him yourself. We hope that sir can provide some convenience, for example, open the house where Suyu is. Otherwise, we can't enter. Besides, once the dead souls appear, we hope that sir can control them. I know that sir can do it. After saying that, without waiting for him to refuse, he said again, now, you also know that after living in this ancient city for a long time, sooner or later, you will become the next generation of undead. The undead are not just this generation. The previous generations of city lords have all become undead. You should know that. As for us immortals, perhaps we can help you slow down the trend of dying. Immortals? The city lord of ancient city nodded slightly and said indifferently, the immortals have many tricks up their sleeves. The older the immortal, the stronger their combat power. Your clan's method of longevity is famous throughout the world. Dao Cheng was delighted. Sir, then. But. The city lord of ancient city said indifferently, I don't need it. Whether it's the human race, the immortals, or the gods and demons, they are all existences that I cannot afford to offend. Today, I helped you capture Suyu. The next day, the invincible human race will attack. Are the immortals willing to step out? Dao Cheng was speechless. At the side, Jiu Xian quickly said, Sir, the humans will not go to war with you over a Suyu. Is that so? The city lord of ancient city put down his wine cup and said indifferently, then, if I capture the two of you today and force out the immortals' method of longevity, will it not attract the immortals' revenge? When these words were said, the two of them were greatly shocked. Ha ha ha. The ancient city's city lord laughed and said, I was just joking. However, the two of them knew that if they helped you capture Suyu today, the human race would not go to war with the immortal race. As for me, I will defend the city and will not be able to leave. I will die without a doubt. The ancient city does not lack city lords. After saying this, he said lightly, please go ahead. I will not reveal your thoughts. Just treat today as a normal banquet. I know about the human immortal alliance and will not speak carelessly. Dao Qing slightly frowned, he quickly smiled and said, then I'll have to trouble you. As for the alliance, it won't be broken. Even though the human immortal race is an alliance, they still have competition. Everyone knows that the great Qin Manor has killed our immortal race experts many times. He didn't care too much about all of this, as long as he wasn't caught red-handed, he would be fine. The great Qin Manor had killed many immortals. Of course, they had also killed many human experts. Everyone maintained peace on the surface. Similarly, the gods and devils suppressed the human race, but the gods and devils also fought. There were even fights on the surface, and it was fine as long as they were in the same general direction. The ancient city lord did not want to get involved in their matters, and he did not want to provoke either Su Yu or Madhua, including the two immortal geniuses in front of him. If you have the ability, go and kill them yourself. If you don't have the ability, then it has nothing to do with me. Although the city lord of ancient city was also an overlord of a region, this region was only within his territory. If he went out, the top 100 races would have an invincible force to suppress him. As for being attacked by the aura of death, this was something that couldn't be helped. He was actually interested in the conditions of the immortal race. Unfortunately, he really couldn't do it. Otherwise, if this situation happened, the immortal race wouldn't protect him. If the human race attacked with an invincible force, no one would stand up for him. Perhaps, these fellows from the immortal race would deliberately leak it out. After struggling in the heavenly battlefield for so many years, he had seen through everything. Although he was almost killed by Xia Longwu in one slash, he only collected some fees for the human race to enter the city. As for the rest, he didn't do anything extra. At this time, the expert from the black-armored race beside him. He said, Sir, this time, 2 heaven-hunting talents from our race were killed. Our race will not let this matter rest. If there are any transgressions in the city, please forgive us, sir. The city lord raised his wine cup and drank a cup. He said indifferently, do as you please. Don't touch the guards in the city. That's your own business. Thank you, sir. The expert from the Mystic Armor clan didn't say much. He had actually guessed that the city lord would refuse. This guy was timid and afraid of trouble. It was very difficult for him to make up his mind to help them capture Su Yu. Seeing this, Dao Qing could only say, then sorry to bother you, sir. We'll take our leave first. Take care, we won't see you off. The city lord replied indifferently and watched them leave. After they left, he said indifferently, Madhua is stronger than Su Yu, but he didn't look for Madhua. He shook his head and roughly understood. It was still the pan of the multi-divine literature department. The immortal race didn't want to see any hope of the multi-divine literature department rising. On this point, it was in line with the interests of the gods and demons. Su Yu was on the heaven roll, and the immortal race couldn't help it. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1643. 1643 Chapter 373 Each had their own plans. Subscribe. 1. On Su Yu's side, after he finished reading the information and consolidated his realm, the night passed. During the day, Su Yu sensed for a moment and took out some heaven yuan qi. He was a little surprised. It was broad daylight, but there was no aura of death here. What did this mean? The aura of death also divided time. Did the undead spirit not come out during the day have something to do with this? During the day, is their strength weakened? They really became ghosts. Suyu muttered and did not care too much. Although the undead were creatures of death, it did not mean that the 10,000 races did not have such creatures. There were also quite a number of creatures whose strength was related to the environment. The five elements race was very obvious. The water spirit race was absolutely powerful in the water region. After leaving the water region, they were just like that. During the day, the undead were less active, and their strength was weak. Even the people in the ancient city dared to go out. Suyu adjusted his appearance and became a handsome middle-aged uncle. He did not care whether or not everyone could guess who he was. This was not important. He wanted to find a suitable room to take a look. In the ancient city, one could not casually use force. Of course, if one was not afraid of the undead, one could still use force. Suyu knew this very well. If I have enough heaven yuan qi, I won't be afraid of the undead. Suyu muttered in his heart. He had about 400 portions of heaven yuan qi left, which was quite a lot. In addition, he still had quite a bit of blood essence on hand. If he really encountered an undead, it wouldn't be that scary. The prerequisite was that he didn't have to be too strong. Otherwise, he would be killed with a single strike. He walked out of the house. Last night, there were quite a few living beings on the empty street. On both sides of the street, some shops had actually opened for business. Suyu was very surprised. They actually dared to open for business here. However, thinking about it, it was normal. They also had to cultivate and survive. Even local residents needed to cultivate. There were not many peaceful places in the heavenly battlefield. The ancient city was actually a very good middle trading point. At the very least, because of the influence of the undead, the probability of using force was much lower here. Unlike other places, if you set up a trading point, you might be robbed by experts within a few days. Seeing Suyu walking out of the house, some of the creatures passing by did not care. A big bird strode forward and glanced at Suyu. It even deliberately said, "Human. Why aren't you running? If you stay here, aren't you afraid that the black-armored race will find trouble with the human race?" Suyu glanced at the big bird and smiled. "Thank you for your reminder, fellow cultivator. However, the black-armored race's strength is average. What's there for us humans to be afraid of? Besides, what else do they dare to do in the city? Old human brat, if you don't listen to the bird's advice, you'll be finished sooner or later." The big bird swayed its steps and walked with Suyu. It casually said, "The black-armored race has been stationed in the heaven-destroying city for hundreds of years. They're still very strong in this force. There are quite a few black-armored race members in the guards. These guys are ruthless enough. In order to open some ancient houses, their own clansmen have become the residents of the ancient city. If they really want to deal with the humans are not enough. Sometimes, the guards can control some dead souls." Suyu's heart skipped a beat. The black-armored race. He didn't pay too much attention to the patrolling soldiers last night and didn't dare to investigate further. That guy couldn't be from the black-armored race, right? "Thank you, fellow cultivator." Although Suyu found the big bird's swaying footsteps laughable, the other party reminded him of his good intentions. He asked curiously, "Do the black-armored race still dare to deal with humans in the city?" "They don't have the final say in the city. You don't understand. Our city lord of heaven destruction is known to be in charge of nothing. He doesn't care about this, he doesn't care about that, he doesn't care about anything." Suyu was stunned for a moment. The bird shook its head and said, "He doesn't care about anything that has nothing to do with him. Unless you attack the city lord's mansion, he only cares about the city's income. He doesn't care about anything else." "Is that so?" Suyu was surprised. This was a city lord. It made sense for the heaven hunting pavilion to say that the other party was a puppet city lord. That was good too. Since he didn't care about anything, he wouldn't deliberately target him, right? As for the Mystic Armor clan, Suyu thought for a moment and said, "Brother Bird. Who are you scolding?" The big bird suddenly became a little angry. Suyu was speechless. "It didn't scold you. Is there a problem for me to call you Brother Bird?" The big bird swayed and said, "I'm not from the Flying Bird clan. I'm actually from a branch of the Phoenix clan. I have to call you Brother Phoenix." Suyu nodded and cursed in his heart. "You're from a branch of the Phoenix clan? Stop fooling around. Do you really think I don't know you? Aren't you from the Earth Ostrich clan? You're from the Bird clan. You can't fly high, but you can run very fast. You're a pseudo-flying clan. Brother Feng, why did you say that the Black Armor race would attack the human race?" A smile appeared on the big bird's face. At this moment, he seemed to be somewhat cunning and suddenly stopped speaking. He transmitted his voice, "Human brother, I saw that you look familiar, so I gave you a few words of warning. If you want to know more, you'll have to take a risk." As soon as he finished speaking, his decorative wings made a slight gesture, and his two feathered wings made a gesture that was common to all worlds. Suyu understood. F***ck. I was wondering why I met such a good bird when I went out. So I'm here to sell information to make money. No wonder when I saw that I was a human, I immediately came over. Suyu was also speechless. He sent a voice transmission, "How much? We don't want merit points. We don't dare to go to the humans' territory to exchange for your merit points. The universal one is Yuan Qi liquid. Just give me 100 drops. The fee isn't high." It was alright. It was indeed not high. 100 drops was only a few hundred merit points at the human realm. Of course, it was not a small amount. It was just that Suyu was rich now. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1644. 1644 Chapter 373 Each had their own plans too. After hesitating for a moment, he seemed to be struggling. Then, he transmitted his voice, 100 drops is not a small amount. Brother Feng, do you have top secret information? I think so. Then if it's not worth it. It's not worth a refund. Suyu thought for a moment, nodded, and did not waste any more words. He opened an empty room at the side and pulled the bird into it. He had learned it from others. He had just observed that some people traded like this. Pulling the other party into an empty room was enough. As expected, the old bird did not mind. After all, it was not afraid that this fellow would lay a hand on it in the room. They entered the room. Suyu took out 100 drops of Yuan Qi liquid and gave half to it. He quickly said, "Speak first. There's no problem with what you say. The rest is yours. Why did you say that the Black Armor clan wanted to attack the humans?" The big bird said casually, "Is there even a need to say that?" Suyu of the human race had killed the blue armored race and the red armored race. He definitely wanted revenge. Only these two were on the heaven hunting roll. If they were killed, how could they have the face to survive without revenge? Of course, the black armored race might not have the guts to directly attack the human race. But yesterday. At this point. The big bird's face broke into a smile again. Yesterday, the black armored race brought two humanoid creatures back to the black armored race's base. I think the experts of the black armored race still value humanoid creatures. It's simple. It's possible that the four races, humans, gods, demons, and immortals, are so valued by them. It just so happens that it was yesterday. Suyu had just caused a ruckus, and the Great Xia Mansion killed their garrison experts. It would be strange if they weren't looking for trouble with you humans. This big bird didn't have any actual evidence. It was just a guess, but it was enough, he said. It must be the devil, God, an immortal race. The devil race is very overbearing and rarely sneaks around. I think it's either the immortal race or the God race. This morning, some of the black armored race experts stationed outside the city were also transferred back. If they didn't attack the human race, could it be our phoenix race? Speechless. What he said made sense. As a bird, his analysis was very reasonable. Brother bird, cough, cough, brother phone means that the immortal race or the immortal race has colluded with the other party. They are preparing to use the power of the black armored race in the city to conduct a search and capture and attack the human race. Most likely. The big bird laughed and said, "It's fine. Run, don't be afraid. This happens all the time. It'll be fine in a few days. This time, they're probably here to search for your human Suyu. That guy was wandering outside the city yesterday. Geniuses usually can't resist the temptation of the ancient city. Who knows, he might have sneaked in last night. That's why they've mobilized their forces to search for him." Suyu was speechless once again. So, a genius would definitely be unable to resist the temptation of the ancient city? That might not be the case. Well, at least I'm here. This guess wasn't wrong. Suyu thought for a moment and said, "Brother Feng, you mean that the Mystic Armor clan has some ancient city tokens?" "Of course." The big bird said matter-of-factly, "They've been stationed here for so many years. There must be some. Find the Heaven Hunting Pavilion to buy some information and basically confirm where Suyu is. Open an ancient house nearby and Suyu will be dead for sure." Suyu took a deep breath. "Aren't you afraid of arousing public anger?" "What's there to be afraid of?" Big Bird said casually, "What's there to be afraid of? Those who come to the ancient city usually have nowhere else to go. The Mystic Armor clan has invincible, so why should we be afraid of them? What's the use of public anger? No matter how angry you are, you can't withstand a single word from invincible. Then which ring of the ancient city token do they have?" "I don't know about that." The big bird shook its head. "However, if you offer a high price, I can help you inquire about it. In fact, it's useless. No matter which ring, it's enough to deal with you. You can't go in too deep. The Mystic Armor clan seems to have opened an ancient house with 20 floors before. They must have at least grasped the ancient city token with 20 floors. 20 rings. The bigger the rings were, the closer they were to the outer ring. The city lord's mansion could be considered as the inner ring. They had opened a house on the 20th floor. Thinking of this, Suyu was not in a hurry to say this. Instead, he asked, "Brother Feng, do you know how to obtain the ancient city token?" The big bird looked at him and said after a long while, "I know." "Are you going to get the ancient city token? To the city lord's mansion? To the ancient house? Or to snatch the ancient city token and kill the spirit?" Suyu paused for a moment. After a long while, he gritted his teeth and said, "Thank you, Brother Bird. F***CKU, Ancestor. Heaven Hunting Pavilion. F***CKU. It was too dark. So, even a bird knew about the so-called great opportunity and was giving it away for free. The big bird seemed to have noticed something and suddenly became vigilant. He said without batting an eyelid, "Well, the deal is done. I'm leaving. I don't want the remaining 50 drops of yuan chi liquid. We are doing business and the price is a little too expensive. You didn't haggle over the price, so I can't take the black-hearted money." The big bird cursed silently in its heart. Could this be the Heaven Hunting Pavilion's trading target? The moment Suyu asked that question, it did not think much at first. But when it saw Suyu's expression, he had been scammed. He had been scammed. That was most likely the Heaven Hunting Pavilion's black-hearted price. The heaven hunting pavilion's trading targets were either top-tier experts or peerless geniuses. Because these people were rich, the heaven hunting pavilion rarely interacted with others. The fellow in front of them was either a top-tier expert or a peerless genius of the human race. As for Su Yu, he might be in the city at that moment. The big bird instantly thought of many things. Why don't I run? There was no one else who could meet the main character of a casual chat or trade. Su Yu did not say a word and casually threw the remaining yuan chi liquid to it. He was so angry that his liver hurt. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1645. 1645 Chapter 373, Each has their own schemes 3. I'm giving it away for free. Those fellows actually dared to take 5 of my mystic-grade pinnacle weapons. I'll settle the score with you guys sooner or later. Big Bird saw him throw the yuan chi liquid over. After thinking for a moment, he said, "It's good to get used to it. Let's compare the goods. Brother, you bought the news at the heaven hunting pavilion, right? That's normal. Their news, how should I put it? It's a little more expensive, but it's true. On our side, to put it bluntly, some of it is just speculation. It's just gossip. Take it easy." Su Yu gave him a piece of advice. Don't get angry, and don't pick on me. This matter was very normal. It was enough to suffer a few more losses. As for the heaven hunting pavilion's news, it wasn't purely black-hearted. Its reputation was still guaranteed. If it's fake news, we can claim compensation. The heaven hunting pavilion will usually compensate too. Su Yu nodded and looked at Big Bird. Brother Feng, have you guessed who I am? No. The Big Bird denied it and said hurriedly, We're just doing a small business. We won't talk about this. Brother Feng, you won't turn around and sell me out, right? Absolutely not. The Big Bird said hurriedly, We're just small fry. Even if we go up and tell the Black Armor clan that I've found out who's there, we won't be able to see him. Even if we do, they won't believe us. Once we can't find him and they vent their anger on us, we'll be finished. We'll earn a little money and lose our lives. We're not that stupid, right? Su Yu nodded slightly. He thought for a moment and said, Then if the Black Armor clan can't find Su Yu, will they attack the other humans? That's hard to say. The Big Bird was much more careful. He explained, the Black Armor clan might not have the courage to do so. If they have an expert backing them, then they do. The Black Armor clan and the Human clan have never been on good terms. Your Human clan's Lord Tianzhu Wang has always wanted to kill their ancestor, so their relationship isn't too good. Just like the Dragon Silkworm clan, your clan's Lord Tianzhu Wang has always wanted to kill the Dragon Silkworm king. Therefore, when he has the opportunity to kill the Human clan, he won't give up. Su Yu was silent. These two were undefeatable, and they were not easy to deal with. They had already found 2 enemies for the human race. The black-armored race is in the city now, but there is no sun and moon. No, the sun and moon are also mighty figures. There was only one, but he was killed. Naturally, there is no sun and moon now. Are you sure the city lord won't interfere? Most likely. Then apart from the city lord, are there many suns and moons in the city? Not much. Just 2 or 3 of them. They are all from small clans. The suns and moons of other large clans rarely come to the ancient city. Su Yu understood and said with a smile, Thank you, Brother Feng. You're welcome. Then. I'll be leaving first. The Big Bird cursed in its heart. What bad luck. Fortunately, geniuses were rich and did not care about the 100 yuan chi liquid. Otherwise, there would be some trouble. Brother Feng, do as you wish. Su Yu watched the Big Bird leave and quickly followed it out. He felt depressed. They had already judged that he had come. If he had not come, wouldn't these guys have come to nothing? Why did they conclude that he had entered the city? Why don't I just leave the city? Also, did the black-armored race really dare to search the rooms and target the humans? Are the Celestials or Celestials supporting them from behind the scenes? The demon race. The big bird said that the demon race was unlikely. This kind of people who lived in the heavenly battlefield for many years should not be wrong. They were either Celestials or Celestials. The human race was not doing well in the heavenly battlefield. How dare the small races get involved? Were they not afraid of being beaten up? What should I do? Suyu rubbed his head. He was not afraid. At most, he could run away and let the birds fly high in the sky. How could he be captured so easily? The key was, what about the humans in the city? Some were here to rest, and some were here to take refuge. To be honest, many of those who did not return to the human realm in the ancient city had committed crimes. Actually, it did not matter. However, if they were implicated by him, it would be something. It's a pity that I don't have Modwa's strength. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to kill them without the sun and moon. Suyu sighed. His strength was still insufficient. Modwa was very strong. Under the sun and moon, even if he wasn't a match for them, he could still fight for a while. As for the undead spirits that came after killing people, they weren't that terrifying. Thinking of this, Suyu suddenly grabbed a passerby. Under the other party's shocked state, he suddenly said, I have a question. Brother, can you answer it? Yes. Being grabbed by someone, this person didn't refute, just ask. I heard that the undead appear because of blood. If I spill blood everywhere, will the undead appear? The Tauren who was caught looked at him like he was a madman. After a long while, he said, no, the dead can't do it, but the living can. For example, if this lord spills his own blood, he can be lured out. At that time, the undead will always follow Lord. You can go and die, don't drag me along. Suyu was deep in thought and said, has anyone done this before? Draw the undead out to kill the opponent? Yes. The Minotaur obediently said, there are also experts who have done things like spilling blood. The dead blood is useless, only the living blood can do it. Under normal circumstances, if you don't kill the opponent, you will be killed. Therefore, very few living beings do this now. If you want to test it out, sir. Don't test it out on yourself. I've seen many madmen, and the Tauren aren't too surprised, but don't drag me along, I'm just passing by. Suyu didn't ask any more questions. He let go of the Tauren and let the Tauren leave quickly. He quickly found a place and entered an empty room again, taking out the ranking board, he said directly, by the information about the strength of the Heavenly Destruction City Black Armor Clan, including the strength and location of the few immortals who came yesterday. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1646. 1646 Chapter 373 Each had their own plans for. As for whether or not he was an immortal, it didn't matter, he was just casually saying it. It was just words. If he wasn't an immortal, then the other party naturally wouldn't be able to sell information to him, so he would be an immortal. The probability of him choosing one of the two was just a random guess. If he guessed correctly, the Heaven Hunting Pavilion didn't know how much information he knew, so he might even lower the price. Sure enough, there was a moment of silence on the ranking board. Soon, a text appeared. Sure, but the location is not precise enough. In addition, the probability is within the base of the black armored race. Do you want to buy the information about the change of location at any time? Yes, the price. Suyu cursed in his heart. Was he really an immortal? F***ck. The ranking board hesitated again and soon displayed the information. Information about the strength of the black armored race is included. Information about the geniuses of the immortal race. 1 drop of sun and moon blood essence, 1 drop of location information. 1 drop of sun and moon blood essence will provide 1 hour of change. Go rob. If a sun and moon was killed, they would only be able to extract more than 10 drops of blood essence at most. So, in your eyes, they were all worthless. Do you want the merit points? Yes, 50,000 merit points for 1 drop of sun and moon blood essence, first level realm. They knew they would accept it. After all, the heaven hunting pavilion seemed to have an intelligence system in the human race. 50,000 for 1 drop, and they started to rob again. How could it be so expensive? Immortal genius. Suyu thought for a moment and looked at the list. He looked from top to bottom and quickly asked again, how much is it to buy all the information of Xian Wuji, the 4th on the heaven roll, including his location? The list was silent and did not reply. Suyu snorted and wrote again, you're not doing business anymore. The list was silent again. After a while, the text appeared, yes, but, Suyu, this conflicts with the information you wanted to buy last time. The other party was not stupid. Different geniuses naturally charged different fees. What kind of information could a drop of sun and moon blood essence provide about a genius? Suyu asked one by one, and soon he was able to determine who the immortal was. Suyu continued to write. I don't care about that. Aren't you all fair and just? Aren't you people in business? Since I want to buy, I want to ask the price. If you don't say it, how are you going to do business? Just as Suyu was writing. In a hall floating in the grand heavens battlefield, a masked man raised his head and looked at the elder not far away. He said, Elder, I made a mistake. Come and take a look. A faceless expert quickly walked over and looked at the display device in front of the masked man. He smiled and said, interesting. Tell him. Since the price has been asked, then tell him. Elder, then, he can determine who the immortals in Heaven Destruction City are. The faceless elder said indifferently, the other party might not be on the heaven hunting list. Tell him some news while you're at it. The Sun and Moon Realm Information Inquiry starts with a drop of Sun and Moon blood essence. Let him determine whether he's a genius of the immortals or the Sun and Moon of the immortals. If he's not afraid of mistakes or death, then it's up to him to buy or not. Elder, you are wise. Faceless elder did not say anything, he said quickly, don't make the same mistake again next time. I took a look. You said earlier that the intelligence on the geniuses of the immortal clan was very silly. Including Suyu's previous inquiry, it is possible that he was guessing the intelligence. Whether or not he guessed correctly, don't give him an accurate answer. Buy it first. Got it. The masked man was a bit scared, but the faceless elder didn't care. He said calmly, tell him the information. If the immortals or the black-armored race buy his information, increase the price by 3 times the normal price. Elder, this. Do as I say. The faceless elder said indifferently, also tell Suyu that in Heaven Destruction City, he can hire experts to protect his path. As long as he pays the price, the Heaven Hunting Pavilion can do any business. If he wants to hire Madwa, he can do it. As long as he pays the price. Yes. The masked man didn't dare to say anything else and quickly began to communicate with Suyu. The faceless elder looked for a while, smiled faintly, and returned to his original position. At this time, another masked man shouted, Elder, someone is buying the position of Chen Yong from the Department of Multiple Divine Languages in the human territory. Do we have Chen Yong's position? The masked man did not have enough authority, so he could only ask his superior. Chen Yong. The faceless elder quickly walked over, took a look, and quickly returned. At his location, he entered Chen Yong's relevant information and made a search. After a while, he said, we don't have a grasp of it at the moment. Recently, a few Eternal Realm experts from the human realm have been patrolling around. The difficulty of searching for information has increased, so we are unable to grasp Chen Yong's exact location. The masked man said again. The other party asked if they can provide a rough location within a mansion. The faceless elder looked at the information that he controlled and said after a while, yes, 50,000 merit points can only provide the location of the mansion that Chen Yong is most likely to be in. We can't be sure if it's true. Yes. The masked man started to communicate with the other party again. At this moment, the faceless elder smiled. Interesting. The human realm and the divine literature department had increased their performance recently. There were many missions to inquire about these civilized masters of the divine literature department. It seemed that they needed to send more people to inquire about these few people. Just as he was thinking, the masked man who had communicated with Su Yu before suddenly said again, Elder, Su Yu asked if he could hire a few invincible masters to exterminate the Black Armor clan. The elder was stunned for a moment before he quickly scolded, tell him that he can. As long as he can start the bidding, he can hire 5 unrivaled relics or 10 complete unrivaled corpses. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1647. 1647 Chapter 373 Each had their own plans. 5. The entire hall fell silent for a moment, somewhat speechless. This Su Yu was too bored. What did he think this heaven-hunting 4-role division was? He really dared to ask. In the heaven-destroying city. Su Yu was speechless. Forget it, there were still 5 invincible relics. Forget about not having them, even if there were, he wouldn't do it. He was teasing me. Alright, I'll tease you first. He didn't ask any more questions. He was in a good mood. He had saved a lot of money. Dao Cheng, Jiu Xian. Su Yu glanced at the list. There were 2 fellows on the Earth roll. Of course, he couldn't be 100% sure, but according to the price, these 2 were the most likely, or they were Sun-Moon Realm experts. However, if it was Sun-Moon Realm, the other party had said that they were immortal geniuses, then something was wrong. Dao Cheng, 9th on the Earth roll, 9th level of Lingyun, 5th level of the Mountain and Sea Realm. Jiushuan, 16th on the Earth roll, 7th level of Lingyun, 1st level of the Mountain and Sea Realm. All of them were top-tier geniuses, especially Dao Cheng, who had killed an expert of the 5th level of the Mountain and Sea Realm. That was very terrifying. The 9th on the Earth roll was lower than Huang Teng and Qin Fan. That was because his realm was higher and he was older. However, he could kill an expert of the 5th level of the Mountain and Sea Realm. He was stronger than Lei Ju, who had only killed an expert of the 1st level of the Mountain and Sea Realm. This guy could kill the 5th level of the Mountain and Sea Realm. If he was a little younger, he could also be on the heaven roll. Jiu Xian. Little Fairy. Killing the 1st level of the Mountain and Sea Realm was quite ordinary. Su Yu could also kill her. Little Fairy. She actually didn't die at the hands of the Great Qin Manor. Didn't the Great Qin Manor like to kill Little Fairy the most? Qin Fang actually didn't kill this Little Fairy. There were quite a number of celestials on the heaven hunting roll. However, there were only these 2 on the Earth roll. The Xian roll and the Yellow roll weren't that high, and there were 2 on the heaven roll. However, the price for buying information was frighteningly high. There were 630 people on the heaven hunting list, and the celestials were almost 20 in total. They were still very powerful. There were a lot of geniuses. Perhaps there were also many geniuses who were only active in the celestial world and did not come to the heavenly battlefield. The target, kill the Little Fairy. Dao Cheng was not easy to kill. Su Yu might not be his match, or rather, the probability was not as high as him, but he could kill the Little Fairy. Why did the celestial race encourage the black-armored race to search for him out of the blue? What did the celestial race want? In fact, Suyu knew that it was mostly because of his identity and his identity as a member of the Divinity Literature Department. That was the key. Otherwise, even if he entered the Heaven role, he would not have provoked so many enemies. Qin Fang and the others were able to enter the Heaven role. It was not uncommon for them to kill geniuses, and they did not have as many enemies as they did. Perhaps he did not know enough about them. It was better to strike first. The premise was that it was best for him to go to the inner area. He had to scout and find a room that he could hide in. If he couldn't hide in there, it would be awkward. Could the Black Armor clan open a room on the 20th floor? Could they open a room on the 18th floor? Could they open a room on the 16th floor? If he brought more Heaven's origin chi, there was still hope for him to enter, right? After he entered, he could stay for a few more days, right? The 9 circles of light that passed through the main city gate had yet to shatter. Adding the Heaven Yuan Qi, if I grind all of you to death, you won't be able to leave after 3 days. At night, you dare to casually walk around on the streets. If it really doesn't work, I'll spend money to hire someone from the Heaven Hunting Pavilion to save my life. The price was frighteningly high. A sun and moon would hire someone to come to the ancient city to save someone. The price would start from 100,000 merit points during the day, and at night. It would start from 500,000 merit points. Are you afraid? The Heaven Hunting Pavilion is a money-snatching organization. I wonder why they need so much money. Suyu isn't a kind person either. If you want to kill me, I'll make the first move and kill you all first. The other party doesn't have a Sun-Moon realm cultivation technique. No matter how afraid he is, it won't go that far. The divine inscriptions, cultivation technique, and the divine talisman that Old Bull gave me can all conceal my identity and conceal my whereabouts. If I can't win, I'll just run away. I should find a room that I can enter first. It would be best if I could find a few more rooms. I'll talk about it after I've stepped into them. Also, if the other party has a 10-story ancient city token, should be careful and leave a way out. Suyu, who had come to the battlefield of the heavens, was also extremely daring. In the human realm, he was suppressed by the other party every single day, and he didn't dare to move at all. In this place, he wasn't that afraid of the other party. In truth, he still had a way out, but the price he had to pay was simply too great. Open all of his young apertures. At the same time, he would consume the essence blood of the peak of the mountain and sea realm and unleash the battle prowess of the peak of the mountain and sea realm. Of course, his physical body might not be able to survive, and the flesh regeneration technique of the immortals might not be effective. It didn't matter. As long as his Sea of Will wasn't destroyed, he could rebuild his physical body and start all over again. With Heaven Yuan Qi, he would be able to open his young apertures quickly. Since he had the confidence, he could just pay a huge price and get rid of those fellows. If the sun and moon didn't appear, then he would unleash the power of the peak of the mountain and sea realm. What was there to be afraid of? Of course, unless it was absolutely necessary, Suyu wouldn't do that. He had spent so much just to cultivate this body. It wasn't easy to finish casting 16, and he was about to cast 17. If he was really crippled, Suyu would also cry. It was precisely because of this confidence that Suyu dared to be so bold and unrestrained. With the power of the peak of the mountain and sea realm, even if he wasn't a match for the sun and moon, there was still hope for him to escape. If his physical body was crippled, he just had to leave his life behind. Little hairy ball, if my physical body really explodes, you have to take my Sea of Will and run, do you understand? I understand. Little hairy ball yawned and continued to sleep. Of course, there was still something fragrant in your Sea of Will. If he didn't take it and run, he wouldn't be satisfied. Suyu was suddenly stunned. This fellow was in his Sea of Will, then when I entered the city gate, was it counted as one person or two? He was dazed for a moment. Forget it, he didn't want to think about it. Anyway, he had already entered the city. He first went to scout the area and then prepared to do something big. After killing the immortals on the earth roll, his ranking might increase. This wasn't important. What was important was that there would definitely be heaven and earth rewards. He hoped that they could give him some willpower core. At that time, he might be able to provoke the undead and give himself some death aura. It would also be good to help him cast his body. After calculating everything, Suyu went out and began to scout. And in the city, there seemed to be more armored warriors. He didn't know whether it was real armor or the main body of the black armored race. In any case, Suyu didn't investigate. Very soon, Suyu approached the inner area. There were very few creatures here, but there were still some. The entire ancient city was very big. After Suyu entered the 20th floor, he found that there were many empty houses. Almost no one moved in. They were all empty. He only looked for houses that looked more like humans. Once he entered, the aura of death should be weaker. He secretly opened a few houses. Sure enough, even during the day, the aura of death appeared in the inner area. When he found a house on the 18th floor, Suyu's body crackled as soon as he entered. How terrifying! This place required a large amount of heavenly yuan qi to survive. Otherwise, it would quickly be corroded by the aura of death and become a dead person. Madhwa had entered the 18th floor a long time ago, so he might not have a large amount of heaven vitality. That guy's body was indeed terrifyingly strong. He kept scouting. He kept scouting. Suyu spent the entire day scouting. In the city, the Mystic Armor clan was also scouting. It was not easy to make a move during the day because everyone could run around on the streets during the day, but at night, they almost did not dare to come out of their houses. At that time, they would be waiting for their prey. Both sides were making preparations. At the same time, the city lord at the 9th level of the Sun-Moon realm was looking down from the top of the city lord's mansion. He was drinking wine and looking down at the entire ancient city. There was a faint smile on his face, as if he was waiting for the start of a big show. At this moment, a figure appeared in front of him. The person first looked at the main hall behind him before looking at the city lord of the ancient city. He said coldly, "Tianhe, stop watching the show. I'm coming to collect the debt soon." The city lord of ancient city glanced at him and smiled. "I have no problem with the rest of you. Also, don't you care about this little human?" The man looked down at the city and said indifferently, "Everyone has their own destiny. The immortal race is restless. It's good to kill a few of them and teach them a lesson." "You're really confident. Can this little guy deal with them?" "If he can't deal with them and doesn't run, then he's an idiot." He said indifferently, "Didn't you tell that big bird to tell him? If he doesn't run, then he must have confidence. If he doesn't have confidence, then he's an idiot. If he dies, then he dies. The human race doesn't need such an idiot." "You came long ago?" "No. I just arrived." Tianhe sighed, "It seems that your strength is not weaker than invincible. Xia Longwu, I'm looking forward to your success, but the chance is too small. If you fail, the Xia family will give me a small world. Don't break your promise." "I never break my promise." Xia Longwu's expression was cold as he looked at him and said indifferently, "Don't drop the ball. I still have something to do. I'll take my leave first." After saying that, his figure disappeared. After he disappeared, the Tianhe city lord sighed. He was really powerful, but he was really bold. He was not afraid that the person behind him would glare at him to death. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1648. 1648 Chapter 374 The beginning of the massacre 1. The computer crashed and it took a long time. In the 24th ring of the Heaven Destruction City, there was a very large house. This was the residence of the black armored race in the ancient city. Those who joined the ancient city and became residents of the ancient city would stay here permanently. Those who did not join would go out and rest for a day every 3 days. After that, they would enter the city and stay here again. This was also the method that some races chose to stay in the city permanently. They would let some of their clansmen join the ancient city to help them develop the ancient city better. This huge mansion, which took up an extremely large area, could be considered one of the top ones in the outer ring. The place was big and the environment was good. There was no shelter around it and it was very spacious. The mansion did not change much. It was still an old mansion, but the signboard looked a little new. Black Armor. 2 large characters of the Black Armor clan hung on the gate tower. They looked rather imposing and domineering. The door of the big house was open. In the ancient city, almost everyone's door was closed. Closed meant that no one was allowed to enter or leave. It was also for their own safety. If the door was closed, unless you broke the door and forced your way in, but once you broke the door, you would inevitably attract the attacks of the dead souls. Therefore, closing the door was the safest option. However, there were a lot of people coming and going from the black armored race. In addition to their confidence and pride, the black armored race chose to open the door. Outside the door, there were 4 black armored warriors standing guard. In fact, there was no need to guard the door at all. However, the top 100 races still needed some face. Some of the other resident races in the city would also choose this method. At this moment, the sky was getting dark. There were many armored warriors coming and going. Not only were the armored warriors of the Black Armor clan here, but this clan was also one of the top 100 races. They had been stationed here for many years and had even taken in a group of homeless experts from small clans to serve them. Just like how the Red Armor clan wanted to capture Suyu, the Black Armor clan still had some slaves. Right across from the mansion, a shop along the street had been abandoned. Because the Black Armor clan was stationed here, no one had entered the shop along this street. At this moment, on the roof of a shop, Suyu had turned into rubble and was hiding quietly. Night was about to fall. There were fewer and fewer living beings on the street. When the sky turned dark, the dead spirits would appear. Most of the living beings would choose to enter the house and spend the night. Black Armored Clan. This place was about 1,000 meters away from the mansion. On the sensing jade, some light spots showed that after Wuxia had modified the sensing jade, the sensing range had increased. It had also changed from a passive state to an active state. However, the range of sensing was still not too big. The range of 1,000 meters was actually not that big. Moreover, in the ancient city, because of the special properties of these houses, the difficulty of sensing had also increased. At this moment, Suyu could only sense the strength of some people passing by. However, the strength of the people inside the mansion had not been detected. There are quite a number of people stationed here. Suyu sighed. As for whether they were residents of the ancient city, he could also tell. Previously, he did not understand. After looking at them during the day, Suyu could finally tell whether they were residents of the ancient city or not. It was actually very easy to tell. Most of them were residents of the ancient city, and they might have been affected by the aura of death. As for those who didn't have a strong aura of death, it was either that or they had recently joined the ancient city. The result of killing outsiders was different from killing the residents of the ancient city. If they killed the residents of the ancient city, the undead that appeared would be much stronger. Aren't the immortals here? Or are they not out yet? Or are they stationed outside the city? Suyu was also a person who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. He had been like this since he was young. If you want to kill me and I can kill you, I will definitely not let you off. Even if I have to suffer a little, I will still kill you. When he was young, Chen Hao was his hired thug. Now that no one could be his hired thug, he naturally had to take action personally. Su Yu waited silently. He still had some patience. At night, outside the ancient city, Su Yu did not feel much last night. At this moment, the sky was gradually turning dark. Su Yu realized that outside, the aura of death seemed to be a little denser. Although he did not use his heaven yuan qi, so he could not feel it very clearly. However, he could feel a weak aura of death surging into his body. Inside the house, it was better. So, the house is not a coffin, but a protection. Su Yu guessed in his heart. Last night, he only used the heaven yuan qi inside the house to feel it clearly. Tonight, outside the house, he carefully observed and also felt the presence of the aura of death. No wonder everyone wanted to enter the house. On one hand, there were dead spirits outside, and on the other hand, it was because the aura of death outside was thick. Could there be dead spirits about to appear? Su Yu was careful. Those things couldn't even be detected by the induction jade. Just as he was on high alert, many armored warriors came out of the house. Many. This time, there were at least 30 of them. Not only were there armored warriors, but there were also some experts that seemed to have been subdued by them. However, almost all of them were wearing armor. They're not weak. 3 mountain and sea realm experts. 3 mountain and sea realm experts didn't seem like much. However, in reality, the black armored race was only as strong as one of the manners of the human race. In the Great Xia manners, sending out 3 mountain and sea realm experts at once was already a huge move. Furthermore, they were in the ancient city, not the black armored world. Only 1 sun and moon had died, and now, 3 mountain and sea realm experts had come out. This race could be considered extremely strong. These experts also silently walked out of the gate and waited. After another 2 or 3 minutes, someone came out. 3. One of them was from the Black Armor clan. He seemed to be the leader of the Black Armor clan who had been forced to retreat into the city by Jingping yesterday. He was in existence at the peak of the mountains and seas. For mountains and seas. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1649. 1649 Chapter 374 The Beginning of Slaughter 2. Su Yu did not look over there. Instead, he looked at the induction jade. There were 4 Shanghai realm cultivators. One was at the 9th level of the mountain and sea realm, the other 3 were at the 6th level of the mountain and sea realm, one was at the 3rd level of the mountain and sea realm, and the last one should have just entered the mountain and sea realm. There was a sun and a moon stationed in the ancient city, and there were 4 mountains and seas. The black armored race took this matter very seriously. As for the other 2 black-robed humanoid creatures, Su Yu's sensing jade did not show them too clearly. One moment it was a light spot of Ling Yun, and the other moment, it was a light spot of the mountains and seas. This was very similar to his reaction when he saw some geniuses. Just as Su Yu was hiding. In front of the courtyard, Dao Cheng looked around. Jiu Xian, do you feel anything? Beside him, Jiushuan shook his head and chuckled. Dead spirits? Or the aura of death? Brother Dao Cheng, let's leave the ancient city as soon as possible. This place is very uncomfortable. The immortal race didn't like the ancient city, and they didn't like it very much. In this place, the aura of death was thick, and the immortal race happened to be a race full of vitality. Staying here, the feeling was more obvious than the other races, and it was very uncomfortable. Dao Qing didn't say anything. He thought for a moment, and then his palm moved slightly. Divine runes appeared one after another, and after a moment of hesitation, a drop of blood appeared on his finger. Stop! Beside him, the expert at the peak of the mountain and sea realm was a bit angry. He glanced at Dao Cheng and said in a low voice, "Don't see blood, it'll draw out the undead." He was a bit angry. Dao Cheng knew, but he still said, "Let me do some calculations." The ancient city's aura of death is too strong, so we have to use blood. The peak expert of the mountain and sea realm didn't have time to care about him. At this moment, at the end of the street, a shadow appeared silently. It slowly walked toward them. Dead spirit. The commander of the black armored race was furious, but he had no choice but to deal with this dead spirit. Luckily, it was only a drop of blood, so it shouldn't be too strong. He looked at the black armored expert who had just entered the mountain and sea realm. He said in a low voice, "Go, use the ancient city token to lure him away." Next to him, the black armored expert at the first level of the mountain and sea realm responded. He quickly flew out, and an ancient city token appeared in his hand. The dead spirit walking over seemed to be a bit hesitant. At this moment, the mountain and sea expert quickly left. A moment later, the dead spirit hesitated for a moment, and then followed him. The black-armored commander let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the dead spirit wasn't too powerful, and still acted on instinct. It wasn't the powerful ones. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been affected by this low-level ancient city token. He looked at Dao Qing again with a cold look in his eyes. "Emissary, you'd better not try again." Dao Qing smiled and said, "I won't. The black-armored clan is indeed powerful." He praised him lightly and expressed his apology. Dao Qing did not care about him anymore. He felt a little uncomfortable when he went out, so he had to perform a divination. The divine runes were stained with blood and kept spinning. After a moment, Dao Qing's eyes moved slightly. He looked at the divination after the combination of the divine runes. There was no image, only a smear of blood red. Dao Qing's expression changed slightly, and he said in a low voice, "Be careful. The divination is not very good. There might be some variables in this operation. There will be a crisis." As soon as he said this, Jiu Xian hurriedly said, "Brother Dao Qing, where did the crisis come from?" "This. I'm not too sure." Dao Qing shook his head. Divination was just a divination, not a prediction of the future. He only knew that there was danger, and as for exactly what kind of danger he encountered, he wasn't sure. However, this time, it was a vicious divination. The expert at the peak of the mountain and sea realm wasn't careless either. Dao Qing's divination ability was quite famous, so when he heard this, he frowned slightly and said, "Danger, there are many dangers in the ancient city. If you only know about danger, it's very difficult to prevent it. Should I give up tonight's operation?" He hesitated. The ancient city was very dangerous. With the danger of the dead souls, searching the houses might also lead to danger or other dangers. Dao Qing looked around and took a deep breath. "Be careful. Maybe it's because of the environment of the ancient city. In short, if there's a problem, everyone should find an empty house to hide in. Should we give up?" The commander of the black-armored race hesitated. "If it's too dangerous, there's no rush. If Su Yu really comes, he'll stay for at least 3 days. Until now, it's only been 1 day." Dao Qing also hesitated for a moment, and then quickly said, "No, such a crisis might happen every day. Just be careful." Then he said, "Senior Qing, you're at the peak of the mountain and sea realm, and the black-armored race is one of the top 100 clans. Even if you encounter the sun and moon, you can still resist for a while, right?" "Of course." "Then please try not to separate from us." Qing Jia nodded. "So be it." A group of people quickly walked toward the city gate. Tonight, they were going to search around the city. It seemed like a big task, but in fact, it was not too big. Other than the residents of the ancient city, there were not many people coming and going. The Black Armor clan also had some information. They did not need to care about the people who came 2 days ago. They focused on the people who had just entered the city yesterday or today. Su Yu didn't move until they left. He continued to disguise himself. Although these guys had all left, he still had to be careful. He was a peak mountain and sea realm expert. In addition, he also had to be careful. Did these guys have anything similar to the sensing jade? The immortals were powerful, so it wasn't necessarily impossible for them to have such treasures. Su Yu was really like a pile of rubble. He continued to lurk, not moving at all. After a while, the mountain and sea that had left earlier returned. Not only did he return, there was also a dead spirit behind him. The dead spirit that had left earlier. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1650. 1650 Chapter 374 Beginning of the Massacre 3. Su Yu was shocked. These guys could control the dead spirits. The Shanghai realm scouted around, turned around, picked up the ancient city token, and said something to the dead spirit. The dead spirit struggled, but when it saw the ancient city token, it chose to obey. A moment later, a thick aura of death spread out from the dead spirit. The dead spirit walked along the street, moving in all directions. The Shanghai experts quickly avoided it, allowing the aura of death to spread in all directions. Su Yu, who was on the roof, was also affected by the aura of death. It was very fast. The aura of death spread in his body. The dead spirit walked back and forth on the street 5 or 6 times, and the darkness on its body seemed to have dissipated a little, becoming somewhat transparent. A moment later, the undead quickly disappeared just like when it came. After a while, there were a few more people around, those who had left earlier. These people silently looked at the street that was filled with the aura of death. Qing Jia looked at Dao Qing beside him. He shook his head and said, "No, all the houses have not been moved in." If it was outside and the other party was surrounded by the aura of death, he would have died very quickly. Even if he didn't die, the undead would have found him very quickly. Dao Qing frowned slightly. Really? He felt that there was a small danger anyway, which was why this scene happened. He waited quietly for a while. If there was someone, the aura of death would probably permeate the other party at this moment. He knew that Su Yu knew the escape art and could turn invisible. Therefore, when he sensed the danger before, the first thing he thought of was whether Su Yu was brave enough to hide nearby. But now, he was a little suspicious. Wait a little longer. Qing Jia hurriedly said, "The death aura here is dense. It's easy to attract powerful undead. We have to leave as soon as possible and come back when the death aura has dispersed." Dao Qing nodded slightly. After waiting for about 5 to 6 minutes, he nodded and said, "Let's go." After so long, even if the other party had a way to resist the death aura had entered their bodies. Only then did the group leave swiftly. Behind them, another undead appeared once more. It was precisely because they felt a great sense of danger that these people left swiftly. As soon as they left, Su Yu did not hide any longer. His speed was astonishingly fast, and in a flash, he disappeared from his original spot. Damn! At this moment, the aura of death in his body was overflowing, and he was on the verge of collapsing. And at this moment, behind him, a death spirit appeared silently. It quickly caught up to his speed as a stream of death chi shot towards him. Su Yu was greatly alarmed as the Calamity Divine script jumped. He did not dare to delay. In a blink of an eye, he entered an empty house. He quickly took out the Heaven Yuan Qi as a large amount of Heaven Yuan Qi wrapped around him. Sizzle sizzle sizzle. 1 portion, 3 portions. This time, there was too much death chi. Su Yu had used up close to 20 portions of Heaven Yuan Qi before he was able to grind away the death chi. However, his body had also received some strengthening at this moment. Faintly, he began to transform into a 17. Su Yu gritted his teeth. These guys were so vigilant. What powerful methods. They were actually able to hook up with the undead. The undead are chasing after me. Su Yu muttered, chasing after me. It was because there was too much death chi in my body. There's too much death chi, and the residents of the ancient city also have too much death chi. Why aren't they being chased by the undead? Also, chasing after me, the undead should be chasing after me indiscriminately, right? One thought after another surfaced in his mind. Suyu coldly harumphed. I'll just play with you guys then. After waiting for a while, Suyu opened the door. His voice was weak. He stretched out his hand to probe, but there was no movement. At this time, Suyu walked out of the door again. He quickly turned into a breeze and disappeared on the spot. A moment later, Suyu hooked up with those guys again. And at this time, among this group of people, there were more people. No, there was a group of night patrols on horses. Suyu's heart skipped a beat. What a coincidence. It was actually that guy from last night who was leading the group. He could sense the position of his Xian weapon, and it was in this group. With that, there was another Shanghai realm expert. 5 Shanghai realm experts. Dao Cheng and Zhou Xian were able to deal with Shanghai, which was equivalent to 7 Shanghai realm experts working together. These guys were really willing to spend so much to deal with him, sending so many experts at once. At this moment, at the 36th ring, the night patrol was leading a team, and they were inspecting the houses one by one. They didn't need to worry about the empty houses, and they didn't need to worry about the residents. While Qingjia and the others were talking, Suyu vaguely heard some words. Even if that guy entered the city, he shouldn't be living in the outer regions, right? Check all of them to prevent any leaks. Arrange for people to guard the areas that have been checked to prevent that guy from changing houses. Black armor, tell the night patrol army to patrol more areas tonight. Don't let any living beings wander around. On the night patrol army's side, the black armored expert from last night said, yes, but on the night patrol army's side, the city lord's side doesn't have any objections, right? He doesn't care about these things. Don't worry. Qing Armor said indifferently, he's just a waning sun and moon. Our race has an invincible guard. Now that an emissary has come, he won't interfere. A 9th level sun and moon warrior, even if he occupied the ancient city, would not have the guts to go against the immortals. All right. Black Armor agreed, and soon, more night patrols gathered in their direction. By the city wall. The expert from the mountain and sea realm who had warned Suyu earlier stood on the city wall and looked into the city. At this moment, they were on the outskirts, and he could see them clearly. Beside him, an armored soldier transmitted, Commander, that's the black-armored commander of the night patrol army, right? The entire black-armored race is on the move. What is the purpose of this? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1651. 1651 Chapter 374 The beginning of Slaughter 4. The mountain and sea man didn't say anything. He thought of the person from yesterday, and that should be Suyu. The black armored race was about to attack him in the city. Would that guy be caught this time? What about the city lord? Would he intervene this time? One thought after another flashed through his mind. The mountain and sea man looked at it for a while, then silently averted his gaze. He couldn't care less about this matter. But if the Black Armor clan really killed Suyu, or captured Suyu, would the human side be invincible? He didn't know. He only knew that this might be a fuse. The scene of the dragon martial guards surrounding the heaven-destroying city more than 10 years ago might happen again. 5 from the Mountain and Sea clan, 2 from the Immortal clan, 17 from the Lingyun realm, 38 from the Soaring Sky realm. Out of the 60-plus experts, both Lingyun and Shanhai were considered experts. Soaring in the sky was just average in the ancient city. Suyu didn't think much of soaring in the sky. He only knew that many of these people were residents of the ancient city. If he killed them, he might be in big trouble. He didn't know if he could hold on. It's best to kill the guy with the ancient city token first. The mountain and sea that had lured away the dead spirits, as well as the black armor of the night patrol army, definitely had ancient city tokens. There was no doubt that the peak experts of the mountain and sea realm also had them, and they were of a high level. If he killed them and lured out the dead spirits, then without the ancient city token, could he control the dead spirits? Suyu didn't believe it. His target was the two mountain and sea realm experts. They were both at the early stages of the mountain and sea realm. Apart from them, there was also the black-robed fairy. They're not splitting up. Suyu was also annoyed. They should split up. If they didn't split up and charged in, that would be courting death. Such a big city, if they didn't split up, how long would it take for them to find out? It didn't meet my expectations at all. These people were constantly patrolling. The black-armored commander of the night patrol didn't force open the door the moment he arrived. After searching for a while, he found a few houses that were occupied. The night patrol commander immediately went up and knocked on the door. "Open the door, night patrol. Quickly open the door." Most of the people were unwilling to open the door. There were also a few fellows who came frequently but still opened the door. They were somewhat helpless. However, they also knew that the night patrol had the ability to force open the door. At the very least, the people in the outer area were still able to do so. There were not many experts who lived in the outer area. Even the truly powerful ones didn't care about living in a small, shabby house in the outer area. On the night patrol side, they knocked on some doors and directly entered to search. Those who didn't open their doors were quickly forced open by the night patrol. Suyu also saw the ancient city token in Black Armor's hand. Once the ancient city token appeared, the aura of death spread out and emitted some faint light. Those closed doors were easily opened by them. However, they didn't kill anyone. At worst, they could just kick and beat the guy in the house and then search again. It wasn't worth it to kill someone here. The more they killed, the greater the trouble. They would attract the dead souls. The ancient city token wasn't omnipotent either. Once two dead souls appeared, it would be difficult for the ancient city token to restrain the other party. The ancient city token. Why aren't we splitting up yet? Suyu continued to silently spy on them. He gritted his teeth and thought for a moment. Suddenly, his eyes flickered. So many experts had walked out of the lair of the black-armored clan. Were there still experts left? He didn't have time to investigate before, and those fellows had directly opened the door and never closed it. Should he kill some of them first? He was afraid that he would attract the pursuit of the dead souls, which would be a bit troublesome. Alright, since you're not chaotic, then I'll let you be chaotic. If the dead souls were pursuing them, he could just avoid them. The most dangerous thing for the dead souls was the aura of death. The aura of death could be worn down by himself, which was the greatest confidence. Thinking of this, Suyu no longer kept his eyes on them. The people outside were all weaklings and had no ability to resist at all. These guys were also very vigilant. Chaos would not happen unless there was trouble elsewhere. After more than 10 minutes, Suyu once again arrived at the base of the black-armored clan. Under the night sky, a few guards were still guarding. However, it was different from during the day. Previously, they were standing outside the door. Now, those guys were standing inside the door, and the door was still open. Obviously, these guys were afraid of the night. If they were in danger, they could close the door in time. A room on the 24th ring was not so easy to open. Suyu turned into a breeze and gently brushed past. The guards only rose into the air. It was almost impossible to find him. In the blink of an eye, Suyu entered the courtyard. This courtyard was not small. After entering, there was a courtyard surrounded by rooms. At this moment, Suyu could clearly sense it. There was actually a mountain and sea realm expert here, 3 Lingyun realm experts, and 12 Soaring realm experts. The Black Armor clan had quite a bit of capital in this ancient city. There were 6 mountains and seas and 20 Lingyun realm experts. With such strength, they could command an army of 100,000 people in the Great Xia manner. Killing people in the house and closing the door, can the dead souls enter? Su Yu wasn't sure. He had never tried it before. Perhaps they would, or perhaps they wouldn't. Even the information about the Heaven Hunting Pavilion didn't mention this. As Su Yu thought about this, he suddenly had an idea. Right at the entrance, he pierced his palm and a drop of blood appeared. At this moment, a black shadow suddenly appeared outside. The few guards also saw it. When they saw the black shadow hovering outside the door, they asked curiously, "Why is the undead here again? Why is it hovering around our side? It wants to come in." The few guards were a little surprised. Why was the undead hovering around here? The undead outside the door was hovering around the door. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1652. 1652 Chapter 374 The beginning of Slaughter 5. Several times, he seemed to want to enter, but he was blocked by a dim light at the door. The guards didn't close the door, but soon, the mountain and sea realm expert arrived. Su Yu quickly restrained his breath, and the mountain and sea realm expert's eyes shone with a dim light as he looked outside. He said in a deep voice, "What's going on? The dead souls are suddenly wandering here. Who has a cultivation problem? Did they bleed and come here?" "No. They didn't cultivate." The other experts of the mystic armor race also walked out and denied it. Everyone knew that it was best not to bleed in the ancient city. Otherwise, they would be targeted by the dead spirit. That's strange. The mountain sea realm was also very strange. If it wasn't bleeding, then what was going on? This dead spirit should only be in the sky realm. It doesn't matter, it'll leave soon, but be careful, it can't break through the door. Once the mountain sea realm comes, quickly close the door. "Sir, why don't we close the door first?" someone suggested. With the door open, it would be difficult for an undead to break through, but a powerful undead could. If the door was closed, only the most powerful undead would be able to break through. The mountain sea was a bit hesitant. Closing the door wasn't impossible. However, all clans had their own standings. Not closing the door was also a sign of strength. Of course, if there was a crisis, they still didn't care about their reputation. Then, close the door. The mountain and sea realm expert still made a decision to close the door. After all, there weren't many living creatures that could be seen at night, so it was fine to close it. The 4 guards also let out a sigh of relief. To be honest, the undead spirits were just outside the door, and they still looked a bit scary. As for Su Yu, he also understood some things. The door was slowly closed. Just as the door was about to close, a drop of mountain and sea essence blood entered Su Yu's stomach. At this moment, his young aperture was half opened, and his divine literature battle technique erupted. A blade light shot out in all directions. The mountain and sea expert also reacted in an instant and punched out. But it was too late. At this moment, little hairy ball also quickly drilled out. The black-armored race were all warriors, not civilized masters. The Sea of Will was not strong. With a creak, the Sea of Will was bitten through. Shan Hai trembled slightly. At this moment, Su Yu's blade fell. Boom! A crack appeared on the armor. The long blade instantly turned into a hammer. With a boom, it shook dozens of times. With a bang, the Sea of Will exploded. Su Yu once again turned into a blade and pierced through his heart. With a PFFT, a black iron block was shattered. It was too fast. Before the others could react, that Shanghai collapsed with a rumble. "Guard the door, close the door." Su Yu sent a voice transmission. He told little Hairy Ball that he was going to close the door and beat the dog. The 4 guards did not have any reaction and instantly fell to the ground. Their seas of will were shattered and they were killed by little Hairy Ball in one blow. The door closed with a loud rumble. At this moment, 3 or 4 dead souls suddenly appeared outside. The door rumbled. The dead souls wanted to enter the door. As for Su Yu, he couldn't care less about these things. He went all out and unleashed all of his strength. He unleashed his divine literature battle skills. His physical strength had also reached the mountain sea realm. He punched out, and with a bang, one of Ling Yun's fists exploded. He turned around and kicked the other Ling Yun who had just charged over. The last Ling Yun wanted to run away, but just as he ran a few meters away, the little fur ball flashed and pierced through his opponent's sea of consciousness. It was, after all, a descendant of the ancient Ling Yun clan and half-empress. How could these ordinary warriors of the Black Armor clan compare to it? The Mountain Sea and Ling Yun were killed one after another. Those who were left were terrified. However, there was no time for them to escape. Su Yu turned into a gust of wind and pierced through the armor in the blink of an eye. Drops of unusual blood dripped onto the ground. This was the blood of the black armored race. In the courtyard, all the armored warriors died instantly. Only then did Su Yu transform into his human form. His body was stained with some blood. The blood word divine script was activated. It absorbed all the blood and quickly put all the corpses into the storage ring. At this moment, outside the door, there were continuous rumbling sounds. The undead were breaking through the door. There was too much killing and too much blood, which caused the undead to riot. However, the door was still rather sturdy, and it seemed to have a restraining effect on the undead. Before Su Yu had time to think, a deathly aura suddenly spread out from inside the room. A large amount of deathly aura spread out. Su Yu's expression changed slightly. Killing both inside and outside. At this moment, he finally understood why he did not dare to kill anyone here. Kill someone, if you were to leave, the undead would find trouble with you. If you did not leave, the death aura in the house would instantly become several times denser. If this continued, you would be killed by the death aura in one night. The heaven yuan qi in Su Yu's body spread out, constantly dissipating the death aura. At the same time, a small cloud directly broke through the house and entered the house, fusing into Su Yu's body. It was also a large amount of heaven yuan qi. Su Yu was rather satisfied. Previously, heaven yuan qi was useless. Now that it was needed, it was no longer useless. It was not bad, the aura of death had been neutralized a lot. Heaven yuan qi played a big role at this moment. As for the 9 halos that entered the main city gate, they had not been used yet. Su Yu was consuming heaven yuan qi and constantly dissipating the aura of death. He did not believe that the aura of death was endless. Of course, he had to leave this place quickly. The Black Armored clan might be able to sense the changes in this place for a long time. Although killing people in the house would not cause much of a commotion and the other party might not be able to detect it, the gathering of the dead souls in this place might let them know that something had happened. This is also what I want. It's just that the few dead souls outside are a little troublesome. Su Yu rubbed his chin. How was he going to get rid of them? It was a little troublesome. Or should he just stay here and not leave? Wouldn't that make him a turtle in a jar? He looked at the little furball behind the door. The little furball was trembling. His eyes were filled with rejection and despair. I don't want it. The fragrant one wants me to do something bad again. No, something dangerous. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1653. 1653 Chapter 375 Madman 1. The computer is down, it crashed twice in the afternoon. Harry Ball. No. Before Su Yu could finish his sentence, this guy had already rejected him. Little Harry Ball was not stupid, it was too dangerous. Su Yu smiled and said, "Don't be in such a hurry to reject me. I don't think the aura of death can touch you. Look, you've been following me all this time. You don't seem to be afraid of the aura of death, so you deal with the undead and lure them away. I think it's still not bad." No. Su Yu's face stiffened. Little Harry Ball was unwilling. "I won't do it." This ball was also afraid of those things. Su Yu ignored it. He thought about it and quickly searched. As expected, there was an ancient city token in the storage ring of the Shanghai Realm Expert. There was a symbol on it, the symbol of an ancient city. This token had a map of the ancient city. On the map, there were rings. This was an ancient city token of the outermost ring. It was the lowest grade, the one with 36 rings. Can this be used by a dead spirit with 24 rings? Su Yu didn't understand. He wasn't too sure how to use this ancient city token. The black armored race had quite a number of ancient city tokens. Outside the gate, the dead spirits were still bombarding the gate. Su Yu didn't think much about it. He quickly entered the house in the courtyard and put everything he saw into his storage ring. He didn't leave any for the other party. The Black Armor clan had been stationed in the ancient city for many years, so there were still some good things. Su Yu didn't bother about them and just took them away. After taking the things away, golden light flickered on his body. There were signs that he was about to advance. The 17 casting was about to be completed. After killing another mountain and sea, the heaven yuan qi that heaven and earth rewarded also helped his body to further strengthen. Although the death qi was terrifying, with the heaven yuan qi neutralizing it, it didn't pose much of a threat to Su Yu. Rumble. Outside the door, the noise was getting louder and louder. Perhaps he had attracted even more powerful death spirits. He had to leave. If he did not leave now, he would be trapped here. Since there were not many death spirits, it seemed that the death spirit's strength was limited. If there really were mountain, sea, sun, and moon death spirits, they might be able to charge in. Maybe I can kill one or two. After thinking for a while, Su Yu chose to give up. Why did he have to get rid of them? Keep them. Not everyone had heaven yuan qi. Even if the immortals had heaven yuan qi holy land, how much could they bring? If there were more undead, Su Yu would be in trouble, and those people would be in even more trouble. He could even act as a roadblock and intercept them. Tonight, I want this ancient city to be filled with undead. Su Yu harumphed and looked at little Harry Ball again. Harry Ball, go out and lure them away for a while. It'll be done in an instant. You're back. Next time, if the heaven and earth reward is willpower, I'll give it all to you. Really? Little Harry Ball blinked. You'll really give it all to me? Really? This time, little Harry Ball thought for a moment and nodded his body. He agreed. Sacrifice for food. Su Yu took a deep breath and took out the ancient city token. With the heaven yuan qi covering his body, he instantly opened the door. At this moment, a total of 4 undead appeared and streams of death qi shot towards Su Yu. However, they were intercepted at the entrance and a weak death aura seeped in. Little Harry Ball appeared instantly and shot out explosively. Of the few undead, 3 had gone to chase little Harry Ball while the remaining one was still at the entrance. As for Su Yu, he also charged out instantly. He punched out with a rumble. The fist was mixed with heaven yuan qi and the undead was sent flying by his punch. Sizzling sounds kept coming from their bodies as the death aura clashed with heaven yuan qi. The undead struggled violently and let out a terrifying roar. As for Su Yu, he instantly disappeared from where he was. At this moment, a few more dead spirits appeared in the surroundings. One of them was exceptionally huge and seemed to be extremely powerful. The death chi was boiling. It's chaotic. At this moment, the living beings in the rooms were all trembling and were in chaos. There were people fighting outside. The dead spirits had appeared. The ancient city was not easy to break into. If the dead souls did not kill the opponents, more powerful dead souls would appear soon, until the opponents were killed or left. Or, there was a powerful ancient city token that could order the dead souls to leave. At the same time, in the outer area, the chief commander of the black armored race, Qing Jia, suddenly looked toward the center of the ancient city. Under the night sky, there was a place where the darkness was thick and the aura of death exploded. Qing Jia's eyes shone with a red light. He looked over and said solemnly, "That's where the garrison is, isn't it?" Beside him, a Mountain Sea Realm expert nodded. "It's over there." "What happened?" Qing Jia focused and said, "The aura of death is thick." "Did a dead spirit appear?" After saying that, he looked at the experts beside him and shouted, "Broken armor, go and take a look." "Yes, sir." On the side, Dao Qing quickly said, Don't split up." Dao Qing looked over there and said in a deep voice, "Be careful, it's a diversion. Surround the area and fight for reinforcements. If something happens, it's already happened. If we split up now, it'll be easy for the enemy to take advantage of the chaos and kill us." With that, he suddenly took out the ranking board. On it, Su Yu's name didn't change. He had killed a mountain and sea warrior before, but this time, there was no change in the ranking board. As for the Mystic Armor clan, there were no experts left on the ranking board. In other words, there were no experts on the ranking board of the Mystic Armor clan. At this moment, there was nothing unusual on the ranking board. The ranking board didn't change. Dao Qing frowned slightly and looked over again. Divine runes appeared in his hands, and he quickly made a divination. Soon, he said, "Don't go. It's a bad omen." Qing Jia said in a low voice, "That's our base. There are still many elites of our race in there. Lingyan Mountain and Sea was an elite no matter where they went. If they were to suffer losses, the losses would be huge. The losses were already huge. A sun, moon and 2 geniuses on the list had died." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1654. 1654 Chapter 375 Madman 2. Dao Qing asked, "Does the Black Armor clan have the soul condensing technique?" "No." Qing Armor shook his head and said, "Our clan only has a few suns and moons. There are spirit souls left in the ancestral land. Death will extinguish the spirit. Then it would be hard to determine whether they were alive or dead." On the other side, the aura of death was still boiling. At this moment, Qing Armor suddenly said, "Black Armor, get the Night Patrol Army to take a look." On the other side, Black Armor hesitated for a moment before quickly nodding and giving a few orders. In the team, 2 Lingyan realm cultivators quickly rode their horses and rushed over. Dao Qing took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "Then let's continue. If something happens over there, it might be caused by the counterattack of Su Yu or the other humans." After saying that, he looked at a captured human beside him and said indifferently, "Continue, capture any humans that you see." "Will it work?" Qing Jia glanced at the captured human and said uncertainly, "Will it work if we use these weaklings to threaten Su Yu?" "Try it. Humans have complicated emotions. Sometimes, it's hard to understand what they are thinking." Dao Qing replied. Beside him, Jiu Xian suddenly said, "Brother Dao Qing, should I go and take a look?" "No." Dao Qing rejected. It was a bad omen, so he did not want to go over. Today's divination was not a good omen. Although Jiu Xian was strong, if he really met Suyu, he might not be able to take him down. On the contrary, it would be a little dangerous. Dao Qing quickly said, continue, narrow the area step by step and trap Suyu. Even if we can't catch him, we have to trap him. As long as we trap him in the city, he won't be able to leave. Sooner or later, he will die or become a resident of the ancient city. Becoming a resident of the ancient city was nothing to be concerned about. Have the night patrol army seal the city gates. Only 9 gates are allowed to leave the ancient city. Otherwise, we won't be able to leave. As long as we seal the city gates, after a long period of time, we will take turns to surround him and Suyu will be crippled. Catching a turtle in a jar. Qing Jia said hesitantly, if the human race comes to our aid. It's fine. Zheng Ping has taken Huang Ting away and is currently rushing back. There are people on the way to intercept and kill them. Even if the human race's reinforcements arrive, they will have to save them first. If they can't control this side, they won't have the time to do so. At most 10 days, Suyu will be crippled. Then the Tianhe city lord sighed. Sealing the city gates was not a small matter. Dao Qing smiled and said, it's fine. Tomorrow, I will send some heaven yuan qi over to relieve some of the death qi suppression for him. Lord Tianhe won't care about this. Qing Jia nodded slightly and said, I can still give some instructions to the night patrol army. However, the ones guarding the city gates are the city lord's direct descendants, the heaven destruction guards. I hope there won't be any conflict. Dao Qing said indifferently, no. I believe that the city lord of the Sky River City should know what to do when the immortals work. Even if he wants to join the human race, he has to see if the immortals will agree. Qing Jia didn't say anything more. As long as you're confident. He was afraid that if he angered the city lord, it would still be troublesome in the city. As he was thinking, suddenly, the aura of death in the distance intensified. Roar. A low roar from the dead could be heard. Not far away, the black armor of the night patrol army trembled slightly and shouted, the night patrol army that went to investigate just now is dead. Dead? Qing Jia was shocked. The 2 Ling Yun were dead. How dare they? The night patrol army were all citizens of the ancient city. If they killed the citizens of the ancient city, they would attract a large number of dead souls. Who was this crazy? Suyu. If Suyu was the one who had attracted so many dead souls, it would be hard for him to end things. Dao Qing was not in a hurry. He shouted, General Black Armor, send the night patrol army to patrol again. Let him kill. You want to kill? Then kill. Suyu might have brought some heaven origin fruits. It didn't matter. The more you killed, the more dead souls there would be. If you killed too many, the mountains and seas, and even the sun and moon dead souls would appear. You would be dead for sure. Even if he encountered a single undead that had just entered the mountains and seas, it would still be extremely troublesome. In fact, he had to escape the city in order to have any hope of surviving. He looked at Qing Jia and said, quickly get the night patrol army to take over the city gates. Okay. Qing Jia shouted, Black Armor, contact your clansmen and gather at the city gates. Take over the city gates and tell the heaven destruction guards that we will explain to the city lord. Yes, my lord. Black Armor did not say much and quickly led the night patrols toward the city gate. A moment later. The number of night patrols had increased greatly. More than 100 of them had gathered at the city gate. General of the Heavenly Gate, the night patrols will take over the city gate. Tomorrow, we will answer to the city lord. Black Armor quickly led his men toward the city gate. On the city wall, the Shanghai man looked at him silently for a long time. He said indifferently, Black Armor, don't forget that this is heaven-destroying ancient city. No matter how strong the Black Armor race is, they can't cause any waves here. The Lord doesn't want to interfere in the matters of the city anymore. Do you want to take over the city gate? General Tianmen, please make things easy for us. Black Armor rode on his horse. He said in a low voice, "So you killed 2 geniuses of our Black Armor race, and our race values him greatly. Now, we have no choice but to surround and kill Suyu. Furthermore, there's an order from the upper race. General Tianmen should know what I mean." The immortals were also there. The mountain and sea man was silent for a moment. He looked at the armored soldiers around him and said in a low voice, "Retreat." He had just jumped off the city wall when Black Armor stood in front of him and said in a low voice, "General Tianmen, please lend me the city gate token." The 9 gates were opened. To close the city gate, one needed a city gate token. Tianmen was a city gate officer, and he had the city gate token. Without the city gate token, he could not close the gate, and it was easy for Suyu to escape. Heaven Gate General's face changed, and he said coldly, "Black Armor, don't forget who the real owner of this place is. How dare you?" He shouted in a low voice, and the armored soldiers around him drew their sabers. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1655. 1655 Chapter 375 Madman 3. On the Night Patrol Army's side, they also held their guns and confronted each other. City Gate Order. Without this thing, it was very troublesome. The opening and closing of the city gate depended on this. Once the ancient city was closed, the ancient city would become a dead land. This had already violated the rights of the city lord of Tianhe City. Black Armor's heart palpitated a little, but he still said, "It's just a temporary loan. After we take down Suyu, we will return it. General Tianmen doesn't need to be angry." "Return it?" Tianmen said coldly, "No. Not only did he not lend it, but now, we won't let him pass the city gate. If you want to guard it, then stay here. The Night Patrol Army doesn't have such power to take over this place. You, Black Armor, are not the general of the Night Patrol Army. You're not qualified. If the immortals want to interfere, you let the immortals do it themselves." Black Armor was also in a dilemma after being played with by him. He said in a deep voice, "Heaven's Gate is only a temporary loan. It will be restored soon after the city gate is temporarily closed. Back then, when the human race besieged the heaven-destroying city, you were also put in a difficult position. Now, you besieged and killed Suyu in order to avenge the city lord. Heaven's Gate said lightly, that is also the city lord's business. It has nothing to do with you. You don't need to take revenge. The ancient city has always been neutral. Now that it has reached its limit, do you really think that the human race is invincible and can't do anything to the ancient city?" Black Armor wanted to say more, but Ching Armor shouted, "Help them guard the city gate." "Black Armor, you don't have to say anything else." Since Heaven's Gate wasn't willing to hand over the city gate token, there was no need to force it anymore. If they really angered Tianhe in the ancient city, it wouldn't be a good thing. As long as they could guard the city gate. Black Armor didn't say anymore, and the hundreds of night patrol soldiers quickly guarded the other 8 city gates. As for the main city gate, Black Armor personally guarded it. "Everyone, get your spirits up." After saying that, he looked at the Heaven's Gate and said in a deep voice, "General Heaven's Gate, please open the 9 gates appearance mirror." Heaven's Gate frowned. "The expenditure is too great. The Black Armor clan will pay for it." Black Armor said directly, "All the expenditure will be paid for by the Black Armor clan." Glancing at him, Heaven's Gate said lightly, "All right," after opening it for one night, 10,000 drops of Yuan Qi liquid and 10 drops of Mountain and Sea Essence blood. "You." Black Armor was a little angry. There were too many of them. It was not like he did not understand them, so he did not need so many of them. The 9 gates appearance mirror was prepared for the fellows who had set up the invisibility and evasion techniques. Once someone came invisibility, the appearance mirror would set up the whereabouts of the other party. This was also one of the powerful mechanisms of the ancient city. Even though he was dissatisfied, Black Armor quickly agreed. On the other side, Qingjia listened for a while. When the 9 gates were under guard, he did not care anymore. The voice transmission talisman sent another message for a while, but there was still no reply. He sighed. Those clansmen who stayed behind to guard. I'm afraid they have already fallen. On the side, Dao Cheng and the others were also speechless. It was a bad start. Was it really Su Yu? If it was, he was really bold. The aura of death had not dissipated, which meant that the person who had attacked was still alive. Brother Dao Cheng, why don't we go over there and take a look? Qingjia suggested, let's go together and not give him a chance. Dao Cheng looked around and took a deep breath. No, continue to search and capture more humans. Now that his whereabouts are uncertain, even if we go, it will be difficult to capture him. All right. Qingjia had no choice but to listen to him. Even though capturing humans might not be of much use, it was better to give it a try. Continue the search. Qingjia shouted in a low voice. The others quickly continued their search. At this moment, Su Yu was frowning. No one came to investigate anymore. How could these fellows be so patient? At this moment, even though he was being chased by the undead, he didn't mind taking the opportunity to cause some trouble for the other party. However, the Black Armor clan actually stopped coming. This was beyond his expectations once again. Su Yu gritted his teeth and suddenly shot toward the outside. If you don't come, I'll find you. The moment he moved, 2 dead souls quickly chased after him from behind. Not long after, a shadow instantly merged into Su Yu's body. Little Hairy Ball returned, and the number of dead souls behind him had reached 4. The aura of death spread out. Su Yu cursed inwardly. There were too many. The target was too big. The moment the aura of death arrived, people would know that he was coming. Trouble. This broken city was a lot of trouble. Aura of death. Su Yu suddenly took out the ranking board. Help me out. Throw out more blood-stained jade talismans in the city. 10 drops of mountain and sea essence blood. Damn it, are you guys robbing me? Hiding in your house and throwing out blood-stained jade talismans. Anyone who is alive can do it, but you dare to take 10 drops of mountain and sea essence blood from me? Put a price on it. It was just 2 words, whether they were willing or not. Okay. Su Yu gritted his teeth and did it. He was short of manpower, otherwise, why would he look for you guys? The Heaven Hunting Pavilion guys were too evil. It was just throwing out some blood-stained jade talismans, and they actually charged such a high price. Can I pay later? I can't pay now, but if you want to take the money, you can come now. I'm being chased by the undead, you guys can think about it yourselves. There was no reply. Just as Su Yu was escaping, a white shadow appeared a moment later. It held the ancient city token in its hand and quickly shone it at the dead souls, making them stop chasing. Then, it looked at Su Yu, it said sullenly, "Fee. No fee for stopping the dead souls." Holy shit. Su Yu's heart shook. He quickly realized that these guys also had ancient city tokens, and their levels weren't low. No wonder they dared to come and collect the fee. They were really bold. They weren't afraid of being killed and taking away the ancient city token. The white shadow didn't care what he thought and said again, "Pay up. I can't stay here for too long. The transaction will be broken soon. Do you still want to continue?" Okay. Su Yu gritted his teeth and didn't waste any more words. He directly took out a bottle and threw it to him. The white shadow quickly disappeared. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1656. 1656 Chapter 375 Lunatic 4. In the next moment, the dead souls chased after them again. At this moment, death chi erupted from every corner of the city. One by one, the dead souls appeared. Some of them threw out blood-stained jade talismans. As long as they didn't throw them out for 3 days, they wouldn't become residents of the ancient city. Obviously, the heaven-hunting pavilion had also controlled a group of people here. The dead souls behind Suyu also seemed to be hesitant at this moment. It seemed like they wanted to collect those jade talismans, but they also wanted to continue chasing after Suyu. At this moment, Suyu quickly disappeared into thin air. Chaos. The ancient city of heaven destruction was in a mess tonight. As for Suyu, he quickly flew through the air. He activated his sensing jade to the extreme and quickly observed. Soon, a few mountain and sea light spots appeared. Suyu counted and found that one was missing. One was missing. They had actually scattered. He quickly flew in all directions and did not go closer. What was missing was the black armor. He could locate that guy at the city gate. He was quite brave, actually daring to split up. Before he reached the city gate, Suyu saw a mirror erected at the 9 city gates. He had never eaten pork before, but he had seen pigs run. This should be a device that projected the power of the invisible expert. As expected, there were many more people here. Night Patrol Army. The Night Patrol Army was different from the city gate guards. One was completely black, and the other was half silver. At the main city gate, he saw black armor. The Shanghai man who had warned him earlier was on the city wall, and the black armor was in front of the city gate. 2 Shanghai Realm. The Mountain and Sea Realm guards were probably not at the early stage of the Mountain and Sea Realm. Suyu's jade senses were not too obvious, and it was most likely at the late stage of the Mountain and Sea Realm. With this guy here, they would be in big trouble. What should I do? Should I kill him? He had only managed to shake off the dead spirits for a short while, and they would soon chase after him again. If he did not kill them, he would be exposed later. Kill them, there was still a Mountain and Sea Realm expert in this place. Moreover, he was not the type that he could kill. Suyu was caught in a dilemma. He was a little unwilling, but he had no choice but to give up. Otherwise, if his mystic weapon was in that guy's hands and the mystic weapon self-destructed, he was confident that he could instantly kill him. Just as Suyu was about to retreat, on the city wall, Heaven's Gate said indifferently, "Black armor, you have already entered Heaven's destruction city. I'm afraid that it will be difficult for you to leave the ancient Heaven's destruction city in this lifetime. For the sake of the Mystic Armor clan, you betrayed the city lord. I'm afraid that the outcome will not be too good." Black Armor said coldly, "Betray? General of Heaven's Gate, you must be joking. I'm only serving my clan. How can I say that I betrayed you? General, you don't have to worry about this matter." Heaven's Gate said plainly, "Up to you." After saying that, he flew towards another city gate. There, it seemed like someone wanted to enter the city at night, but they were blocked at this moment. Heaven's Gate flew over directly. It seemed like they wanted to settle this matter. Suyu was slightly startled and hesitated. Did they discover me? Or did they deliberately create an opportunity for me, or to put it another way, they deliberately lured me into taking the bait? What a coincidence. He had just arrived and this fellow had left, leaving Black Armor alone at the main city gate. Suyu did not feel that his luck was that good. Of course, since the opportunity had come, he did not care. This fellow did not seem to be on Black Armor's side. That was true. The other party was not a member of the Black Armor clan. There was no need to offend the human race for Black Armor. Suyu's aura was restrained. With a long saber in hand, he swallowed another drop of mountain and sea blood essence. In the next moment, a shocking saber light appeared. Killing intent overflowed. The quiet word divine script was activated. For a moment, the black armor didn't know where the danger came from. Kill, fight, blood, fire, thunder. Su Yu, who had many divine scripts that had entered level 4, now had the combination of divine script and combat techniques. The strength he unleashed wasn't weaker than peak Ling Yun's willpower. The black armor was a mountain and sea, but it didn't mean that his willpower had also reached the mountain and sea level. Many mountain and sea warriors only had the willpower to soar into the sky. Before this saber strike landed, he was already in a daze. However, with the eruption of his Yuan Qi, he quickly woke up. With a loud roar, he transformed into armor. His armor was bright as snow. With the eruption of his Yuan Qi, his acupuncture points were opened. Although he had yet to complete the fusion of his acupuncture points, at this moment, he had also begun the second fusion of his acupuncture points after 10,000 stones. He struck out with his spear and thrust it out. And at that moment, a mystic weapon that he kept in his storage ring suddenly exploded with a boom. The storage ring exploded. Not only did it shatter the storage ring, even he staggered from the explosion. The spear had missed. A look of shock appeared in Black Armor's eyes. The mystic weapon had exploded. Just as he was thinking about it, he slashed down with his saber. Boom! This was a divine literature battle technique. His sea of consciousness was directly shattered by the saber, and his physical body was unharmed. The quake divine literature shook, and his sea of consciousness was completely shredded into pieces. Su Yu kicked out, and the power of Shanhai's physical body exploded out. As time flowed out, with a poochie sound, he kicked through the sturdy armor, and the black armor's core directly exploded. In the blink of an eye, the black armor was put into his storage ring. A cloud descended, and before Su Yu could see anything, the little hairy ball swallowed it. My willpower. F***CK. You have a good memory. I was just casually saying that. Su Yu killed black armor with one strike. He did not stop there and shot out. Around him, some black-armored night patrols and a few Lingyun realm warriors did not react at all. With a PFFT, their heads fell off one by one. On the other side, Heaven's Gate shouted, "How dare you! You dare to attack the night patrols? How dare you! Men, guard the city gate and wait for me to kill this person." He shouted loudly, but his actions were calm and unhurried. After Su Yu killed all the people, a large number of dead souls suddenly appeared. This guy had just arrived. A token appeared in his hand and he shouted, "Retreat." The dead souls hesitated. Soon, the dead souls disappeared one by one.